What's up, guys? It has been exactly 55 episodes since we've had this guy on our podcast. It is Modern Craftsman Monday.
With
Monday.
Are you saying with like John, Nick, and Tyler? Or with Spencer Lewis?
There you go. You got it.
Thanks.
I'm calling this one triggered.
Guys, we give you investment tips for Bitcoin. No, I'm just kidding. I can't say that. I think we get in a lot of trouble. We talk about Bitcoin, and we talk about...
We figure it out. So if you were wondering what it is...
Yeah.
Yeah, we pretty much solved it.
You need a big, expensive computer. And Spencer's skeptic. So...
Yeah.
Let's get into
I feel like I feel like I'm going to get off this podcast and go buy some.
Well,
you could stay on it and buy it.
If you wait till the end, you find out how much I bought.
Yeah, Nick's got a bunch of it.
Yeah.
Him and Elon.
No, I like talking to Spencer. It's funny because he's always advocating and promoting that he's socially inept and that he doesn't like to talk and he doesn't like to socialize, but then he gets on a podcast and always has great insight, great input. He's got a good sense of humor and opens up some. So it's nice to be able to provide an outlet for, what I hope that people can kind of see who he actually is, which is good.
He's awesome.
Yeah. I like having him on. We're going to have him on in another year.
Our biggest download to date, right?
It's true.
Yep, Nick?
This podcast is brought to you by Duration Moulding and Millwork. Fly ash is the third largest waste material in the world by volume. It's a byproduct of coal production, and there are literally mountains of it all over the world, with more produced every day. Comprise 70% of fly ash, Duration products put this otherwise waste material to remarkable use, and boy does it perform. The next time you think about siding and exterior trim, think about where your product comes from and how long your work will be admired. To learn more about Duration Polyash products, please visit their website at durationmillwork.com and check them out on Instagram. Dude, Spence, it's been 55 episodes since you've been on.
Has it really?
That's what I said. I was like, I'm gonna look up one stat for tonight, and it's just gonna be when was he last on?
Yeah,
and
I think it's about
105.
exactly a year, right? Pretty close to it.
Yeah, because we released some like bonus ones. So, yeah. That went quickly.
Right?
It really did.
But also drug out to be the most miserable year ever.
Yeah. You know what? That is true, because this podcast, I feel like it was before when it was right before, and the world was good.
Yeah.
It was like there was chatter about it, but we were like, there's talk about maybe we shut down for a week or something like that, but we're just gonna kind of coast out, and then all of a sudden it was just like
fake news,
black cloud.
Man, it's scary to think what might be coming this next year. Then.
Yeah. Maybe you were the reason that it all happened.
No.
It's crazy to think that like a year ago we were all having the discussion like, we might have to shut down for a week or 2 weeks. Why did nobody step up and be like, yo, this is going to be 2 years of your life? Like everyone was like, everything will be back to normal in a few weeks. A year later, nothing's normal.
I remember we talked about it, but even like with my wife, she was like, I think you should just shut down for the 2 weeks, because that's what everyone's doing, and that's going to help. And I look back, I'm like, thank God I didn't shut down for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I thought more of it.
I should have taken the 2 weeks. That would have been my last vacation.
I feel like I knew this was going to be a long, drawn out.
Thanks for telling us.
I think I did.
John just holding the secrets.
I was just like, you know what? Prepared. I literally haven't changed since the day it came about. The mask wearing and all that. Nothing's changed. I know everyone's like, well, Zoom, we were doing Zooms before, and it's like not a lot has changed in our lives,
Maybe you're responsible for it, you and Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. He's making money off it.
Be your celebrity for this podcast.
Could be.
That, and I thought Bitcoin was fake, and now Elon just put a crap load of money into it, and I'm like, really? That's for real?
I don't know. I feel like Bitcoin's big. I don't know enough about it to talk about it. I just feel like it's bigger than we all are.
Well,
I don't even know what it is, to be honest. But like, it's not new because I remember.
No, it's 15 years or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I remember like one of Rachel's cousins talking about it at our wedding, and that was 10 years ago, and I still don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think money's real either anymore. Like
Well,
every
I
bank.
think that's the argument. It's like people put all this trust and faith in pieces of metal and pieces of paper and pieces of rocks, and it's like, why do you have such a hard time trusting Bitcoin? Spencer, you look like you have like you're itching to say something about Bitcoin.
He's checking his Bitcoin stock.
No. Like actually it's been almost a decade ago, I traded silver. I got really into silver because of that whole currency thing.
Well, like you would get like grabbing necklaces and stuff and going to the pawn shop. Like what was it?
No, like silver coins, like physical silver and trading silver, like legitimately trading it. And like the Bitcoin reminds me a lot of what the silver market did. Like I don't know if you guys remember, it just shot up like crazy. A decade ago, it went from, $20 to $50 an ounce super fast. And then it just got pummeled. And I thought for sure Bitcoin was going to get the same thing. And I put something on my stories probably a month ago, and I'm probably the worst stock caller in the universe. And, so now it's going to go to the moon.
It literally, I think it has.
Yeah.
Like in the last month.
It looks like complete mania, which is usually a sign that something's about to get obliterated. But yeah, whenever you got guys like Elon out there, the world is so unpredictable. But to me, I don't see value in Bitcoin. So throwing your money into something like that just seems crazy to me.
I don't even know what it is.
Why don't you see value in it?
To me, there's nothing inherently value oriented behind it other than the fact that, allegedly there's a limited supply of it. And that makes sense from the standpoint of currency because we see what the Fed and our government is doing with our currency. So there's some value in that regard, but I mean, the value is in the perception by people, but I'm not well versed in this at all. I just know I work really hard for my money, and just having nothing inherently tangible behind it, it's not going to be for me, I don't think. So now that I've said that, it'll probably be like $200,000 next week.
It just seems like something that it's like the financial equivalent of people who sit in their basement and play computer games to me.
So I can tell, like, I said something on my Instagram stories, like I said a month ago, and I got so many passionate responses back from just like average Joe people. And that to me was like the sign, like, okay, this is about to get obliterated by the big guys, and all these people are gonna, get crushed. But it hasn't so far.
Like GameStop.
That's a little different, but
John sending us the updates of Bitcoin right now.
I just feel it's whoever has that type of money that can make the market do whatever the heck they want.
And that's what happened with the silver market.
I think that's what happened with all the markets. We're just not players in it.
Yeah, like we get the scraps. Yeah. We get the scraps.
Made a couple $100 on Dogecoin or whatever the one is that meme dog one. I was like, yeah, I'll buy a couple $100. Made a couple hundred, sold it, and I was like, all right, that was fun enough.
Did you? You should just start. Whatever happened to just like selling like weed or something? People are selling Bitcoin.
I think people still do that, but now you need a license for it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's probably super lucrative.
One of my clients said buy gold. It's always casually going up, no matter what happens. It's a pretty consistent thing. I don't know. I feel like the whole thing. My old boss was right. The guy that was 62 and smoked weed back in the day. He's like, one day he'd come in and go, you know what? I think there's 6 people that run the world, and they meet and they just go, you know what? Gas prices are going to $4, and they just do it. And
so stoned.
Yeah, dude. The more I think about it, the older I get, I'm like, you know what?
maybe.
He kind of had something there.
It is. It's all the people. It's like the the people at the very, very top that can make the market do whatever the heck they want because there's so much money in like hedge funds and everything else that like they can manipulate that and make it happen. And then the people in office are the people with that much money where it's like, yo, we're not going to make changes. Like, we're making more money doing this. It's insane. I'll never be in that bracket, but Nick might be.
If you have that power and you can get on the right side of a trade, you know, shorting a stock or a commodity, the amount of money that can be made is utterly insane. And that's why I don't mess with those guys. You know?
What kind of blows my mind, and I guess maybe I've just never been there. Maybe I worked for a plumber a while back, and he was, you know, we pulled up to like a nice big house, and it was like, oh, these people probably don't worry about money. And he's like, no, they just worry about the numbers are different. You know, they worry about it the same as you and I. It's just instead of worrying about $1,000, they're worrying about $100,000. But like these people that make that much money, at what point are you just like, you know, I don't need any more money? Like, I don't get what the incentive is when you have so much money that you could never spend it all. Like, what's it for? To leave it to whoever when you die? Or is it like an ego thing or just like an addiction?
I do like that Elon and Bezos are building spaceships. I mean, I think that's kind of cool.
That's like F you money. It's like, if I had enough money, I'd build a spaceship.
I wanted to be like Scrooge McDuck and have like that huge safe where he just swims in his money.
Yeah,
when I was little, that's what I wanted. I was like, I want to see all of it. And then I'm like, now I'm like Brad Pitt and Mr. and Mrs. Smith. All my money's behind the shed, buried.
But it's like, you have that much money. Like, why are you still working? Like, don't you want to do something else?
Because it usually gets, I mean, like Spencer said, it usually gets to a certain point where you're working because you're working to make a difference. Like you're talking Elon and Bezos, like they're the top people. Even, you know, Bill Gates and like all of these people are now investing their money into the world and now outside of the world, you know, space travel and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a handful of like ego. Yeah, sometimes it's an ego thing. Sometimes it's, you know, a boredom thing. And it's the same. It's kind of the flip of what that plumber said is, yeah, they're worrying about 100,000 when we're worrying about 1,000. But, you know, if they're spending it at the same rate.
Don't include me in that.
What?
Don't include me in that. We're worrying about 1,000.
That's what you said.
I know.
Oh, I was like, I'm not making any assumptions here, but it you know, I read something today about actually it was about Gronkowski, how he hasn't spent a single dollar of the money he's made from the NFL. He's only spent money on the endorsement deals he's had, and they talk about how most people in the NFL go broke after 2 years of getting out because it's like if you make another $100 per week, it's not like you're taking that $100 and saving it. It's you're finding a way to spend that extra $100 a week.
You're trying to leverage it.
And it's compounded, and it's usually compounded at, you know, the general population spends money really poorly, where it's like, hey, if I'm making more money, I'm just going to live more lavishly. You know, there's probably a much smaller percentage that says, hey, I'm making more money, I'm going to take that and invest it or put it into savings or whatever. It's not. It's usually too short focused.
Yeah, I just feel like it gets to be that much that like, what else do you need?
Have you seen the mega yachts? They're pretty nice.
I love the fact we have a text stream of just like yachts between the three of us.
John finds some sick. He sent a sick
but
dark
like,
gray one yesterday.
Those guys could buy like
awesome.
100 of them, and like, I don't know, it's just at what point is enough
100 of them. Well, maybe they could.
Those guys definitely could.
I mean, those things are like $500 million.
I don't know if it matters.
I guess they could buy 100 of them because they're worth 180 billion.
Yeah.
Dang, that's a lot of yachts.
Yeah, but they're worth that. But if they were to cash out,
right? It's not cash value.
It's not cash. It's like the bank. The bank only needs to carry 10% of what, you know, they have in holding. And it's like, so reality is like, is it really just Bitcoin at that point? Is it all just digital?
I don't know if I cash out right now and you divide 0 by 10, I'm still pretty close to 0. You know,
They might have yours in the bank.
I might be able to scoot out with the check.
You know who? So I've been trying to get this kid on the podcast. Gosh, I forget his first name, but Advanced Wall Concepts. I know, John, you follow him. And the kid sits in his excavator all day and builds these awesome rock walls.
Yeah.
And all he does is listen to Bitcoin podcast. That's it. And he just spikes my interest. So I'm like, all right, explain it to me. Walk me through it.
Yeah.
And he sends me these videos, and it's like I'm like, dude, I'm not following it. Like, that guy's telling me I have to buy a $150,000 computer to mine the Bitcoins. He goes, no, you don't have to mine them.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's Minecraft, isn't it?
I'm like, wait, what is going but so every once in a while I'll get into a conversation. I feel like we should have him on and just talk about Bitcoin.
I lost like 4 seconds in those conversations. The last kid did that was the kid that was in Gary Vee's book out of New York.
Who is that?
I forget that kid's name. He sells cabinetry.
Oh,
and tile.
Imperial?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a conversation about
Bitcoin?
Bitcoin. Yeah. He was all about, it was like 2 years ago, all about it.
Gotcha.
And I was I don't get it.
Yeah, this kid's
Can
like...
somebody walk me through what it is? Because I honestly am like 100% ignorant to
Same.
it.
I don't think any of us are going to really...
It said
I feel like Spencer knows. Look,
one
he's
Bitcoin
smiling
equals
like,
$46,549.90.
dollars.
Like a month ago, it was 35,000.
Right.
Yeah.
And back in the fall, it was like 13,000.
So if you buy
when Doug
that,
told me to buy it.
you like buy. It's basically like any sort of stock. You'd buy that and hold on to it, and then you can sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, where did that even come from? Like,
I think a hacker
who made
just made
that
it
up? And who was
it's
the
like a
first
computer.
person who bought into that was like, yeah, I'll give you money for that. Like,
It
it's
was probably
made
a bunch
up.
of rich people that
None
just
of us
made
are
it
going to
up.
do a good job at explaining it.
No, this is awful.
I don't think.
Anyone listening's like crashing their car.
I'm with
Yeah.
Spencer. I'm not giving them any of my money. I don't care if everyone gets rich.
My client just put 10K in.
It's absurd.
And I'm like, what are you going to do with that? And you're like, you're going to take it out in like a week? He goes, I'm going to let it ride. I'm like, he goes, you should put money in. I go, I don't have it.
In
He's
where?
Like, he goes, put 1,000 in to Bitcoin. I was like, not. To me, it's like the casino.
You couldn't even buy one Bitcoin.
I know. You'd buy a.
You buy a portion of it, just
you
like
buy
you buy a portion of
percentage
stock.
of Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm buying like a penny.
This is even dumber.
Right?
Now.
Well, it's still
You
compounds.
could buy like
If the
half
thing-
of a coin.
Listen, if the thing goes to the moon and now it's worth $1 million per Bitcoin, you made some money.
Yeah, but I don't get what is worth $1 million per Bitcoin.
It's
Like,
currency.
It's just a matter of how many people you can pull into it. But to me, I came up with a law probably a few years ago that if it doesn't have inherent value, I won't invest in it.
That's fair.
You know, I just feel like that's a good law to live by, because I don't want to call it a scheme, but to me, I just don't see the inherent value. Like, it's not creating value that I can see. Now, it may be a currency someday, I don't know, but I'd rather play it safe.
Okay, hold on. I just looked up why Elon Musk bought Bitcoin. Tesla announces in an SEC filing Monday that it has bought 1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. The company has also said it will start accepting Bitcoin as payment method for its products.
that's basically he's now creating a market for himself to make even more money. That's like what we were talking.
What he did was he bought it a couple months ago or a month ago or whatever, and now he's using his platform to push up the price and making bank on it.
But I mean, if he starts, like, everyone who buys a Tesla can now pay with Bitcoin, he's basically like creating this financial market for him to make money. That, I mean, he's like self-generating.
Yeah, if you want to buy my car, you have to buy it through my currency.
He can
crazy.
Also next week say, call his stockbroker, sell it, go short, and get on Twitter and say, I don't like Bitcoin anymore.
Yeah.
And make another couple billion off of.
Yeah, but what's the long play? The long play is to actually accept it. I mean, I've also heard from one of my other clients that the people that lease Teslas, that they're not renewing the leases. So that way Tesla's taking all the vehicles back that aren't, that the lease is over with. So that way they can sell them to Uber. So they have an entire non-autonomous like
autonomous
fleet of vehicles. And that guy, that's
insane.
another client that's like legit. I'm like, yeah, that's cool too. I don't know how to get in on it.
Yeah. So
But-
which stock do I need to buy on that?
He's basically taking over the world,
Yeah.
pretty much.
What's that movie? Was it Wall-E? No. It was a
No.
Disney movie that like it was like one conglomerate took over the whole world, and then they started like then Amazon started blowing up, and everyone. It wasn't
Angry
Wall-E.
Birds.
Huh? Was it Wall-E? No,
Angry
Wall-E was.
Birds.
I'm red.
Wall-E was it was a little robot that didn't talk like the whole movie.
I don't know. I don't
I
know
think-
if I saw that one.
Amazon has pretty well already taken over the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then there's like that guy in, was it China? That's like the China equivalent to Bezos,
Yeah,
and he said something bad.
Alibaba.
And-
Alibaba.
and
Yeah.
disappeared.
That
That's
was sad.
crazy, man.
What was it?
He said something bad against the regime, and
Basically, that they
disappeared.
aren't open enough.
Don't say it.
Yeah.
All right.
but he's like the
Yeah.
richest dude over there, and just disappeared. There was like 5 of them within like 2 weeks that disappeared.
Wow.
He came back then,
Did he?
but he walked back his stance on things quite a bit. 'Cause I think they were trying to make a
little backpedaling.
Yeah, they're trying to make a huge company go public. I don't know exactly what it was, but basically then the government just punished him and didn't let it go through. And yeah,
I might try and listen to a Bitcoin podcast tomorrow.
no, don't do it.
Okay. over under. How long do you last? Seriously, do it
Like
tomorrow and
Wall-E.
text me.
3.5 minutes tops.
The intro.
Yeah, the entire time I'd be like, this is fake. This is fake. All right, I'm done. This is fake.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It all kind of blows my mind. I don't know if I'm just so far removed from that and like playing with pennies when people are playing with way bigger numbers.
Well, I think that's. I mean, I just like again, no advice here. I just started paying attention to it and trying to understand a little bit because I was like, you know what, I'd like to understand it if I'm going to put a little money into it. You just stocks in general.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very new to understanding it. But it's not. You have the day traders that are trading and making these micro adjustments, and that's what they spend their like. You're watching the thing constantly.
That was
and
my
trying-
old floor guy. He used to put his phone on his sander and sand the floors while trading, like
That's crazy.
day trading.
Yeah.
Dude, I lived next to this kid in college. He had 3 monitors. He never went to class. He sat in his room all day and just traded stocks, all day, every day.
Where is he
But
now?
but then you have the
Is he like loaded?
Lost it.
I hope he's loaded.
Yeah.
but
He's on
then you
meth.
have the guys that buy. It's there's the stocks that you kind of buy and hold, and you're not making huge money on them, but you slowly invest more and more money, and then those adjustments accrue over time.
You guys know who Ray Dalio is?
No.
I think I say Ray Donovan. I'm like, I love that shit.
He's one of the richest guys in the world. I think one of the richest people in the United States, but he's big in the finance world. He's got a book called Principles that I've got. And one thing in that book that stuck out to me, he said, I mean, this is a guy who's won his whole life in the financial markets. And he came out and said, to win over the long haul in the financial markets, you've got to be like better than the equivalent of an Olympic athlete. Like that's how rare and intelligent of a person it takes to actively trade and win over the long haul. And I think that's really true. I mean, if you talk to people who do day trade and things like that, you can ride a bull market for a while and think that you're smart and think that you're winning, but almost 99.9% of the time it doesn't pan out over the long haul. So I invest, things that have values where it's at.
I feel like in my mind, which is tiny, is that like that whole Bernie Madoff thing, I feel like that is more common than we think. And that there's certain people that buy into companies and those companies use our money and our stocks as, play money to show return on these bigger fish.
Read about stock buybacks sometime. Just these
I
huge,
probably won't. Just
well,
it's up to a Bitcoin.
well, yeah, there you go. Just go all in on Bitcoin. It's not any, if you start reading about what these large corporations do with stock buybacks, basically taking out a huge amount of debt to buy back your own stock to drive the price up. I mean, how much sense does that make? You're going into debt to buy your own stock to raise the price. And
they're doing it with my money
That
from
honestly
QuickBooks.
sounds like a drug addict.
QuickBooks is taking my money
that's
and
the
doing
stock
it.
market.
Yeah.
When they tell me they're going to hold my money for 5 days, they're
yeah.
shorting it somewhere else.
Dude, I feel like you jinxed me that day. We talked about it on the podcast, and it was like the next day. It's like, we need to review this for 5 days.
like $294,000. We need to review it, and then they're like, "Can we see your contract?" It's like,
Bitcoin,
dude, who
Bitcoin,
are you?
Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's went heavy on
QuickBooks is the
Bitcoin.
biggest supporter of Bitcoin.
We just switched over to Builder Trend to accept payments.
Oh, the We payment?
Whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was involved in that transaction, not 100%.
Do you use that with your subs, any? Do any of your subs use that?
We pay some people through QuickBooks, but not through Builder Trend yet.
Okay.
Are you getting paid through Builder?
No, whenever I looked at it, they knocked a pretty heavy percentage off if you accepted money through Builder Trend. I mean, it was like 2 or 3%, I thought.
I think it's less than QuickBooks.
It doesn't make any sense to me to take money through those.
Yeah.
I mean, just send me a check in the mail.
Yeah, for us, like for clients though, it's clients just want to click and pay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
If I have to wait for them to actually cut a check.
And actually, a lot of my subs, almost all of my subs have signed up for our e-payment. We offer it because it's either because we pay everything through a bill, like a bill payment service, and it's like 7 days from the time that it's approved to the check showing up. Or if you sign up for e-payment, it's directly deposited.
Isn't it like e-check?
Bill.com. Yeah, it's an e-check.
E-check. Yeah, I think that's the way to move. So that way there's no mailing. We just had a check go through, and we paid them through QuickBooks, but we had already sent out a check through accounting, and that other check ended up getting cashed as well. We're like, oh, dude's double dipping, blah, blah. And then the bookkeeper reaches out, and the guy's like, no, we never deposited. $17,800 that just up in the air.
You never found
Whatever
it?
happened with that?
No, so it's someone cashed it through Bank of America where that company check incorporated doesn't even have an account, and it's just so it's going between the fraud department between Middlesex and Bank of America, which is like
It should take like
probably
5
Bill
minutes.
Gates.
I know that's what I said. I'm like, don't you have everything's cameras and IDs and everything? And I'm like, how is this like? They're like, oh, it's common. I'm like, how? Like, explain it to me. Like, I'm in the office. I'm like, explain it to me how it's common.
I'm with Spencer on that I mean, I don't have as much money coming in and going out as you guys, so it's just easier for me to keep track of that, where it's like, if I don't actually, like, I'm not going on I have a bookkeeper, but if I'm not depositing a check, like, I don't know if that money's going in there or not, because I'm not going on my bank account and like checking the balance of it to see if it like I had a customer get a hold of me. She's like, I don't think that you got paid all of what you should have. I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, the amount that I wrote the check for, like, it got deposited for less, and then my bookkeeper the next day picked up on it, but I feel like I wouldn't know if somebody paid me or not.
I'm pretty dialed in on that stuff, but funny thing is that Builder Trend thing, you know, builders, like, you issue the payment, and as a sub, then we get like a confirmation email that'll say like your payment has been issued. Most annoying thing in the universe is you get that email and then the check comes like a month later.
Oh, yeah. So it's a wording thing, and I've actually talked to them about this because in Builder Trend, it's just letting the project management software that you've released the payment. Now it goes over to an accounting, like to QuickBooks.
Oh, it's so annoying.
And then QuickBooks for us, like that's how our process works. Is my PM will go through, that's approved, the admin will enter it and click pay. So you'll get, like, the sub you can turn the notification off. The sub can get notified saying, hey, this has been paid. But then it goes to my accountant that runs a report, and then I approve them on every Friday, and then they get cut, and then it's 7 days. So yeah, it's like It's basically when the PM says, yeah, that's approved to pay,
It's a
and then it
tease.
goes through the accountant.
That's a
And for
tease.
me, like I'm picturing my check sitting on somebody's desk.
No, it's not even like they don't even know that it's ready to be paid yet.
That's
It
how I
hasn't
feel
even
about
hit
QuickBooks. When there's 280K sitting there, I'm like, dude, where is that?
They're night trading
who's-
it. I
See,
told
who's
you.
holding it?
You guys are adding fuel to the fire because this is just all make believe money. If you don't have a check in hand, it's just basically the same as Bitcoin.
We
Just
we started
make-believe.
accepting Bitcoin.
Did you?
I believe it.
We said screw it. You know.
That's good. Give
Screw
a
what he
reduced
says.
rate.
You know, we're making a little money with it sitting in the
So you
bank.
get
you know,
paid, like,
more
Bumps
than-
you up on the schedule if you pay Bitcoin.
Imagine that. You got like 2 Bitcoin.
dude.
Yeah.
You're
That
like,
kid,
wait
that,
a minute. This doesn't
dude, that
add
kid,
up.
that kid, the kid with the excavator. What the hell is his name? Is it Cody?
Isn't it Advantage?
No,
Advanced?
Advanced Wall Concepts. But he on his excavator.
He's got brand new gear, so it must be working for him.
Oh yeah, and that dude crushes it. But on the back of it says it accepts Bitcoin.
Does
And I was
it
like,
in the back of the machine?
on the back of the machine, yeah. We accept
That's
Bitcoin as
awesome.
payment. And I asked him about it. He goes, dude, me, all of my friends, we all pay each other in Bitcoin.
See, I would never hire
Yeah.
somebody who had that on the back of their car.
Nick's
mean,
gonna do it tomorrow.
I don't think he
Yeah,
has.
I'd be
I don't think
like,
he has
you
a lot
live
of
in your
competition.
parents' basement and you play World of Warcraft.
Of course.
I think the fact that I think it doesn't make sense is pretty much the sure thing now that it'll be a currency.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
All right.
Next week.
You heard it here first, guys.
The mints
Spencer
are
is
shutting
recommending that
down.
we all buy Bitcoin.
I
I
can't
think we
wait
have to put
to
a
hit people.
Doug, put a disclaimer that we are not investor. What are they?
We're
called?
not benefiting from
Influencers?
this.
Yeah, we're not benefiting.
Fiduciaries. Or,
Yeah, we are not. I don't know. We're not giving advice. This is
Yeah.
not.
This is amazing. I can't wait to hit people's feedback on this.
We're almost an hour in, all about
Really?
Bitcoin.
That's not good.
Well, Spence, to be fair, on your form here it says you want to talk about anything and everything.
All right.
So
We
we've
hit
hit
that.
that.
I'm just thinking, oh, I need to stay in my lane because I don't know the first thing about any of this stuff.
What exactly is
But we
your
should
lane?
talk about it more, even if we don't know about it, because then more questions will come in, more information will flow our way. It'll be good.
Yeah.
Hey, serious question. Is all crown molding copable?
It depends on who you ask.
Dude, I watched that and you do such a good job explaining, why it's not copable. And it's obviously like these little returns that it's like if you skateboard, it's like a vert ramp, right? Like you can't go past vertical.
Uh-huh.
And they're going past vertical, and the fact that like no one, I mean not no one, but you still get this tremendous amount of hate and
Yeah.
just, and you seem to take it well. You seem to,
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know if I've just weeded out a lot of them, but I didn't get too many. I mean, there's still always a few that'll come out of the woodworks.
Flat Earth people.
Yeah, I mean, you can watch the whole video. I will explain it logically. I mean, I did screenshots on the computer. We went into SketchUp to explain it, and you'll still have guys just, you're not a real carpenter unless you can cope anything. You're just not. Someday, this is a kid that, someday maybe he might be able to do something, but not now.
yeah.
So, yeah. No, I was actually really surprised that video seemed to do decent. People seem to take interest in it, and you never know what.
I feel like when we talked last, I mean, you were definitely deep into YouTube, but you were also kind of just starting with it.
Yeah.
What has that done? What has that done for you in your business this past year?
I mean, I'm definitely putting a lot more of my creative thought and energy into that. I mean,
You mean compared to carpentry itself
compared
on
to
site?
carpentry. I mean, what I'm doing carpentry wise is fairly routine. Not at this point.
Hold on.
You get some new stuff here and there, but
Hold on. I just looked up Spencer Lewis on YouTube, and Coinbase, buy and sell Bitcoin,
No.
is the ad that just came up for your YouTube
that's
page.
crazy.
Hey, they've been spending a
awesome.
lot of money on YouTube ads.
It's amazing to me.
Spencer's definitely in bed with them.
No, I'm not. But no, it's going good. I'm definitely putting a lot of energy into it. I see you are too still, so I
It's
watch
fun.
I watch your videos. I watch Ken Revealed and all that, and
Ken's crushing it. I said to
yeah,
Doug the other day, I'm like, that fucker's getting more views than I am.
Is he?
Oh yeah. Cabinetry.
Yeah.
I feel like there's such a hole for cabinetry with content. It's like you have a ton of woodworking. You have a pretty decent base of carpenters and builders, but cabinet making specifically is really, thin. There's not a lot out there walking you through the process of building cabinetry. Not shop built cabinetry. Spencer, obviously, like, you see the built-ins and on-site stuff, but the actual millwork or cabinet making in a shop is just it's a thin market, and it took some coaxing to get Ken even to be interested in doing it. He had a similar mindset that I think we all at one point had, is that why would we share our secrets, right? And then we realized the benefit of sharing. It pushes us to be better. It pushes us to innovate. It puts us as the professional in the room, rather than not being the industry go-to or letting someone else take the front.
Nick, my question to you is, how does that happen? Just by publishing the video? Because I watch a lot of videos and I go, they shouldn't be making videos.
John, it's so funny. I was thinking about this the other day.
I'm not taking shots at Ken at all. I love it. And
agreed.
You guys are definitely above that.
You and I have had conversations, and there's been times where I've questioned something I've put out and been like, I wonder if John looks at this and like, this kid is a kid and he doesn't have the experience to talk about it. But I think about that in a way that I don't want. Like, I'm not trying to be the professional. Like, I'm not trying to be the guru. We'll use that word. I'm just trying to document and talk about what I do. So I try to do it with some humility, in the sense that, listen, I don't know all the answers, but this is how we're doing it. And I'll take constructive feedback, and I'll adapt, and we'll kind of work along that. I'm not going into it saying, hey, this is the right way to go about it. This is how you should do this. This is how you should install that. And I think that's, John, where we see so much of it. It's like, hey, this is the right way to do this.
Yeah, I'm just saying, how do people know if they don't have the experience and they really want to? Like, this is the educational platform of today. Like, instead of going to college or whatever, and trade schools are dead and those classes are gone, then people are going to dig into YouTube, and it's going to be whoever publishes the cleanest video that people will then go, all right, I'm going to rank this based on how many comments it has that are positive, how many likes it has. I don't even know if likes are on YouTube, but that's how is it valued, that it's currency? Is it Bitcoin?
I don't think it ever will be.
No, but it is. Like you just said, it puts us at.
Well, I guess what I was responding to is, I don't think you'll ever get to a point where someone that doesn't have the experience will know how to rate that.
So anybody that hires a good videographer, yeah. That's a problem.
I disagree there. The YouTube, I've really learned this. The YouTube algorithm is not at all like the Instagram algorithm, and it's a lot better at detecting how much value is actually in videos, and it does that to a degree based off the people that are watching it. But it is, Nick, you can attest to this. It is hard to grow on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it takes time. It's not like Instagram where you can put up this, mind-numbing video. Yeah. And accumulate followers. That's not to say that you can't throw some junk up there
cheat the system,
and fake it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the way guys do it with, sweet talking other influencers and, just butt kissing, I don't know what else to say, to get a following, that's not as real on YouTube. So personally, as someone who's put a ton of time into YouTube, I really like the fact that it's got a lot higher barrier to entry, because you have to work a lot harder than you do on Instagram.
Well, I think, and that's what I wanted to touch on, is it's not, like you say, it's harder, or they value, like they tend to spend more time valuing what you're putting out there, which I agree with. But I think in a large part, the way that they value that is they do restrain that growth, meaning like you're putting a tremendous amount of time. We've been doing it for
as
4
long as
years
I've
or
known
something
you.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
As long as I've known you. When you used to have like the crazy beard. When you used to be like,
beard.
remember that guy? Remember that Nick?
I do.
With the
I watched
bags
it the other
on?
day and I was like, no. But it's like 4 years is a long time, and it's and it is, and you're constantly trying to put out better content because it's like, are you you want more people watching it because it will do well, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's at the same time, it's like it's almost as though we're gonna test you. Like if you have what it takes to stick this out, we'll give you a little growth here and there, and eventually you'll hit the right market and you'll get a big stride. But until then, it's you have to really refine what you're doing.
I actually really like that.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing. I think that I just listened to a podcast about how the Google algorithm is getting it changed, and these algorithms are becoming so advanced on filtering out spam and just content that is not valuable, because there's such a saturation of content everywhere, all over the internet. And I think it's a good thing. And like what John's saying, that has to happen. Otherwise you are just going to have junk. Mm-hmm. I mean, like I watch videos on video editing and videography and all that stuff. And those lanes are so saturated with just junk videos that trying to find good videos and informative people is tough. But I think it's a good thing that it's as hard a work as it is.
It's funny
to get
though,
off the ground,
because I feel like the stuff that really matters, like you guys are on YouTube and you're out there putting out educational content that the goal is to help somebody out. I mean, obviously financially capitalizing off of it would be nice as well, but like you're putting out productive and useful content. It's not just junk. It's not just garbage. But then you do have some accounts that are just putting out trash that like grow astronomically, which is also insane to me. And like they're obviously just hitting that algorithm the right way. I mean, I don't know how any of that stuff works. I actually just listened to a podcast on it, but it seems that it should be easier to put the right stuff in front of people, which I don't know how that works, but it does kind of, it's frustrating to see, slow and steady growth from somebody who's putting out deliberate content, and then you have people with like however many million followers who are just putting out garbage.
I guess in the carpentry realm, I really don't see that. I mean, there's a lot of DIY accounts, but I mean, there's not very many carpentry accounts that I feel like are really just throwing out junk.
No, but I feel,
really
but that's what I mean.
lot.
Like, I feel like you have a channel that's putting out productive, valuable information, and you're getting lost in the entire like YouTube universe.
Yeah, and that goes back to that whole thing. Like, I just accept the fact that it's a grind, and you gotta earn it. It's not something that you can just step into.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm glad it's not, because like Nick said, he's been in it for however many years. I'm over 2 years, over 100 videos. That's a ton of my time that I'm invested in it. And it kind of would really stink if Joe Schmo can, knock me out, just hopping on. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, and I think that you should have to put the hard work into it. I guess the bigger issue for me is not necessarily just within like the sector of carpentry. It's just that, like, I mean, and I guess that's what it is. It's a business. They want to put out the stuff that's going to get the most views and attract the most attention, and people are going to pay more money. But like, you have somebody who's putting out content and information that somebody could make a good living from, or kind of pass the torch, or it's educational, and that stuff doesn't get the amount of views and doesn't get the hype as somebody like teaching someone how to do a dumb dance.
Yeah, that's just the reality, though. I mean, in like carpentry, like my channel, I have very good carpenters that watch it. I have homeowners that watch it, and I would love to go super deep into the, you know, techniques that are hard to understand and really nerd out on it. People don't, there's not as much of a base for that. So there's a balance between making videos for that high level carpenter, and then I don't know. But
so going back,
I think even to expose yourself to that market and get that amount of followers, you have to put out content that kind of indulges normal people, because there's just not, like, from a numbers standpoint, there's just not going to be that many carpenters who want to hop on YouTube. Like, you have to depend on the DIY people and the general public who just find what you're doing interesting to get numbers.
Yeah, I honestly feel like I've always aimed to keep my content pointed towards professional carpenters, but then, you know, like one video I made that's done pretty well is putting in stair treads and risers. And apparently there's just a lot of people that do that themselves on their own house. So then you have homeowners watching that video, even though I made it for carpenters. So you get some of that random stuff too.
What were you going to say, Nick?
Going back to, you know, what it's done for your business, right? You said that you've spent a lot more of your creative time in the video making aspect of what you do on a daily basis compared to the quote unquote production carpentry that you're doing in some of these homes. But what has that done? What has making these videos done for you as a carpenter?
Business wise, like whenever you say, what has it done for your business? I actually always tried to keep my Instagram hidden from real life. So to me, my Instagram was always just carpenters. I didn't mix it with friends, family, or anything, or promote it in any way. And the only way people find out about my YouTube channel or my Instagram is if somebody else tells them about it. Like I don't promote it, and I don't think it's helped my business in any way. And that's just how I've done it.
So it's just to give back to the industry.
Well, to me, like the Instagram, it just started out as fun. You know, you just like, I probably know 100 farmers. I don't know any carpenters, like real life, like that I would have a relationship in my community. You know, so you can come on this platform and you've got these like-minded people, and it was just hanging out, you know, something to, you know, if you're just on an island your whole life in your profession, it's, you know, that stinks.
Like the Cayman Islands?
Not quite. Maybe.
Of course, Nick. What island?
But anyways, you know, so that's how it started out. And for me, it grew into this thing. And I talked about it, I think last time I was on. I just kept getting message after message from people who were learning from watching what I was doing, and then seeing that there was a need, knowing that for myself to hire people, I didn't want to have to teach every guy over and over and over again. There needed to be some kind of a process to educate them. And then just, you know, trying it out, and it's just kind of evolved as I went. But
so that's as a business, but what about as a carpenter? Like, I guess, and where I'm going with that is when you're recording these videos and watching these videos and editing them, is it making you rethink the way you do things? Are you actually adapting to it or learning something by watching yourself do it over again?
Honestly, at this point, probably not as much.
Well, that's not the answer I wanted.
I know. I would say I was learning a lot more from the Instagram community whenever I was doing a lot more in stories. I feel like that's a platform that's a lot easier to communicate on. You can actually tell a lot easier who's giving you input. You know, you can either you recognize names or you can go on their account and actually see who they are. In a YouTube comment, somebody might tell me, oh, do it this way, but I have no way to know whether that's a DIYer or a 40-year veteran, you know? So the feedback that you get from YouTube isn't as valuable, I don't feel like, just because it's harder to connect with people. So sorry, I didn't answer your question the way you wanted, but.
Well, does it get you excited again? Like, I found that, I mean, I've been doing it for a minute, but then explaining something that to me is just like breathing, but knowing that people haven't taken that approach or that mindset to it is kind of the exciting part again, is that, you know, hey, let me explain this a little bit deeper because you're getting some feedback. And it almost makes that, you said that island part of it, where it's like, I've been doing this for so long that it is what it is. It's just another day. It's just that daily grind that when people acknowledge it, then it's almost like you're celebrating that thing that you've taken for granted for the last 10 years.
It is. And like you said, you don't realize what you know a lot of the time. And then you tell somebody and you realize how it just shakes them because they're learning it for the first time. Just like Nick, that coping video I just did, I had guys message me saying, man, I was trying to install that 15 years ago and I didn't understand why I couldn't install that crown molding until now, you know, because it had an uncopable profile. So that stuff's definitely motivating and you know, keeps the fire burning for sure.
I feel like you also don't realize how much you know until you start trying to teach it or explain it to somebody else, where it's like, yeah, there's a lot running through my brain right now. Do I spit all of this out, just the main points, or do I like overwhelm you with all of these small, subtle nuances, installation techniques that you're going to have no clue what I'm saying?
The nuances.
Yeah.
Try answering YouTube comments sometimes whenever you get those like basic questions and it's like you're processing something you're building something 20 different ways in your head and you know why it doesn't work the way this person is suggesting it will work, but it's almost like you can't even begin to answer a question.
No, there's so many reasons that, and like things that happened that led you to that point where it's just not as simple as looking at a picture or watching a video.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's the same as coaching. Like when you coach, like I go into a practice and I'm like, I'm going to hit all these things. And then you start doing it and you look at the kids and they have no idea what you're talking about. And you're like, all right, how do I slow this down? How do I work with these kids that some will get it based on how you write it up on a dry eraser board. Some will get it on how you explain it, you know, right there live. And some will get it as you demonstrate it. And then there's some kids that are fifth in line that slide back to seventh in line just because after all that and you've done everything, they still just didn't absorb any of it. And I feel like that's for me is the way that I approach everyday life is how do you teach it to a 13-year-old kid? And it's just trying to explain it and then look at them for answers and look for feedback, even though no one's going to give it, whether it's a client, another contractor, or, you know, my employees.
I feel like some guys I have in a job teaching a 13-year-old kid would be like easy. I want to say like sometimes it's like I got to figure out how to teach a 4-year-old. Like,
well, I feel like everyone says this is babysitting. This is glorified babysitting. And yeah, some days it is. And some days I think more often than not, it's absolutely necessary. I think that there's so many people out there that are claiming that they know what they're doing. And that's, I guess, what my point was with YouTube is it's easy to claim territory that's no one else is claiming because they're actually on the ground making sawdust or building homes or whatever it is. It's like, I just get hung up on it. And yeah, I mean, I remember last year, 2020, I was like, I'm going to hit YouTube. I'm going to do this. And God love you guys. The absolute investment that you guys put into that. It's, if to anybody listening that hasn't tried it and they think it's just a casual effort that you do,
no.
Maybe somebody, it is casual, but you know,
it's not.
It's not even close.
No.
To really explain how you want it and to get what you want out, it takes, I think for me, it's almost a stage in my career when I'm like, I want to explain this. I want to put the effort in. And you almost think about what you're going to actually accomplish on the job site and how that's going to relate. So you're almost doing two things at the same time. And that's what it takes, is that I want to capture this part. This is important to me. Or I find that when I do it, I'm like, I miss this whole nuance thing, Tyler. So I'm like, forget it. I'm out. So like I don't know how many SD cards full of content that I don't know what to do with. So God bless you guys.
It's hard. You know, I kind of think of it like, like your knowledge as a builder, like to what I feel like on YouTube, to be successful, you like, it's only 10% of that knowledge. That first 10% that you have is essential. Like, you've got to have it, but then all that videography and understanding the YouTube algorithm and understanding everything else that goes along with YouTube is that other 90%, and then just grinding it out. I get people every week asking me about it or wanting to start, and it's just like, it's not just as simple as it seems. It's really not.
But you have to have a purpose beyond just being popular. I think this is where all of it, the rubber meets the road. Even social media. I mean, I've been stuck at 40,000 forever, and I look at Nick and Tyler and I'm like, dude, they just keep taking off. And I'm like, maybe it's my personality. Maybe it's how I do it. Maybe I don't put as much time into it, but it isn't my priority. And I'm not looking to be popular. But if I can add a little bit here and there to someone else's life, that's like, all right, I can take that home. That changed what I do on a daily basis. That's all I'm doing it for. So it doesn't matter if I have 3,000 or 30. But at certain times you're like, is my stuff valuable? Just talk out loud. It's like, should I even be contributing if it isn't seen in a light that it's seen in these people?
But I think that mentality and that thought process is really important. And I think it's important to have that check. And that's what I love about our conversation internally. Like, even today, I think I sent you guys a new project that we're working on, and you're throwing like hard facts at me. Like, I'm like, all right, I'll take these jabs. Like, but it makes me think. It's like, all right, I gotta, maybe I don't have all my ish together right now, but that's, you sitting there questioning, like, am I actually contributing anything valuable here? That's important. Because, like you said, it becomes this race to being who's the most popular otherwise, where it's like, you're inflating my ego and I feel so great and it's so good, and then everything I do is rainbows, and everything is, valuable, like, and you can't tread on me, where it's like, no, you need that check in reality. It's like, no, if you're going to be up front in the sense of like people are watching what you're doing and you want to contribute to the industry, you need to, like, I think going back to what I said earlier, you need to have that humility, understanding like, this isn't necessarily the only way to do it, Spencer. Like, your techniques aren't the only way to do it. It's how you do it. Mm-hmm. It's the process in which you take, and you're not doing it because you want people to understand that, hey, this is the only way you can cut crown molding. It's, hey, this is how I cut crown molding, and this is why I do it, and this is the reasons I think it's valuable to you.
Yeah. And a lot of it is saying this is how not to do it, because we all know how hard it is to exceed in this industry and how many mistakes we've made. And we've all got that experience of knowing, hey, this is not the road you want to take here. And I feel like a lot of it for me is teaching that this doesn't work. Don't do this. This is why I do this, because this is the road you don't want to take. But yeah, it's about people. Everything has to be about people. For me, it's how much can I leverage what I know and share it, using technology.
It's funny, John, even that you mention, or Nick, you were mentioning that, like, I feel like a lot of the platforms, the people who you want somebody to support you, want somebody to bring you up, and it's tough because you need that constructive criticism, but a lot of times that has to come from within your circle or within your network for it to actually be constructive, because it's usually just comes off as criticism. But you definitely do need that, because like if you only surround yourself with people who blow smoke up your ass, you're not growing, you're not learning anything. Like you need people in your life who are going to set you straight and explain and give you like an honest, valuable opinion, rather than just like, love what you're doing, that's amazing, that's the like I don't know, you get that a lot. And I mean I get that from a lot of people on Instagram, and it's almost, I almost don't want to acknowledge it. It's not being unappreciative. It's just like, if you knew how much went into this and how many issues there were and how much I banged my head against the wall, like it's not just like, hey, that's amazing or love what you do. There's just a lot to it. And I would rather have more of an honest, in-depth opinion or valuation of what I'm doing than somebody just saying like, love everything that you do, because that's impossible. You can't, like, and you need people to kind of set you straight and keep you on the tracks.
Yeah, I'd rather be surrounded by people that challenge me, not that build me up, you know? I feel like every time I talk to my mom, she's always like, why are you doing this? Last week she's like, why are you in this business? It's so stressful. And I'm like, she doesn't talk like that, but, and I'm like, she makes me like drive in silence for a little bit while on the phone. And it's like, Nick, you were talking about that project earlier, it's that you sent over, and I'm like, it should be already a default that I'm happy for you.
Right.
But then the other part of me is like, all right, how do we make this really work? Like, it's a we thing. It's like, all right, can we do this? Like, in my mind, I'm like, the driveway's going to be a fortune. Do we have the driveway pricing right? What are we doing? And like, my mind goes into this deep dive of like, how do we not lose this?
And I think that's, you know, and that's kind of, Spencer, to your point about why you started Instagram, and it's about that group effort. It's like having these people these like-minded people that share similar interests. It's getting that constructive feedback. It's texting you guys about something I'm excited about, or Tyler's excited about, and John, and then we come back like, hey, that's cool, but like how, you know, like you said, it's this team effort, and I think that's what is the most valuable thing here. You know, across, you know, I know we're talking a lot about social media, but that's really what it comes down to, is like, this is how we have value. This is how we bring value to what we're doing and to others. You know 100 farmers and not one other carpenter that you have a relationship local to you, but you have, I don't know, 100,000 of them on Instagram that would drop, you know, whatever they're doing to walk you through a process to make your job easier.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's, you know,
I'm going to go on Instagram to meet farmers.
Hashtag farmers.
You know, like, I don't have any farmers that I know, so I'm going to go and find a bunch of friends who are farmers.
Tractor life. Hashtag.
I seriously, I was thinking about my drive home, like, I know a gazillion farmers, and I was thinking about, do I know any carpenters my age, like, personally? Not really. It's nuts.
You just own the market.
No, it's like, not that. I just don't think there's many around.
No, and I feel like anything, it's nice to have that network of people who will give you their opinion too, and like somebody who's within that same industry. And it doesn't necessarily need to just be business. Like John, Nick, myself are on a group text that like every day there's random stuff. There's life opinions, like, what about this? What about that? This is going on. But it's nice to have somebody with a similar mindset, a similar mentality, in a similar position and lifestyle to kind of bounce these ideas off of, where it's like, I value your opinion, and like, I don't think that you're just going to tell me what I want to hear. Like, that's why I don't turn to, and I haven't for years, but like, I don't turn to my mom for any sort of direction or opinion with anything in my life, because she's just going to tell me what I want to hear, or like, she's going to pray for me or this, that. I'm like, nah, that's not really what I'm looking for. I want you to give me your honest opinion, like say, hey, this is where I went wrong in my life. This is what I think you should do. Maybe that's not a great idea, rather than just tell me everything's good. It's going to be fine. Okay. And like, I lean on these two a lot for that. And you oftentimes take it for granted.
Dude, I'll give you my mom's number.
I'll
She'll
give
straight
you
up
mine.
find every negative aspect.
Who is this?
To anything.
Are you one of those guys that talk on that podcast with
That's
John
fine.
and waste his
He
time?
wastes his time. Totally.
It's like my entire life will be falling apart, and my mom will be like, "You know what? I'll keep you in my prayers." I'm like, "That's not what I want." Like, just be like, "Yo, you know what? It sucks. Like, it's shitty, and you'll bounce back from this, but it's not good right now, and luck isn't on your side." Instead of just being like almost patronizing me. I don't want to be patronized.
Yeah. I feel like I've thought about that a lot too. Like, what is it that makes, just like the Instagram community just so enjoyable? And I think it is like we're guys who have fought kind of the same fight. And it is hard in this industry to get going. Most of us come from nothing. We weren't handed anything. And you're kind of fighting uphill in a trade that isn't respected. It doesn't pay well. And people, the other guys in that community understand that, have the same work ethic, have the same values. And a lot of times in, quote unquote, real life, I might be around people who have been handed a lot. And it's just like, I just can't relate to you.
Yeah.
At all. So I get what you're saying. It really is. And we just all get each other.
So much of obviously business and what you were doing, like I think the idea for this podcast was to talk numbers, to talk finances, to talk like billing, what you're charging, all of that stuff, and even having a network for people. And it's not necessarily in like every market is going to be different, and everyone does things differently. But if it weren't for a lot of the people that I know virtually, I wouldn't know how to you price stuff, you're guessing, but if you can lean on people who have experience, who have done that before, where it's like, well, this took me this long, or budget this amount of days, or hey, you get X amount per window. I think that it's definitely an advantage to having these like social platforms where now you have people who you can lean on to help basically facilitate your billing or charging for a business, or know your numbers, like John always says. But I would like to get into like how you developed some of those numbers, how you developed those systems, how you're ensuring that you're making money for yourself and you're not just spinning your wheels.
Yeah. That's a big question.
Well, I think, and to expand on that, you just made a comment how it doesn't pay well. Like you said that this industry doesn't pay well. And I think in our last conversation, you talked about there's ways to make more money. And I think most people listening to this are probably in very similar positions as you, which is why I think your first episode did so well, is that they're, one man, 2-man show, small crew, owner operator, and they're, maybe in a rut or can't figure out the billing or how to get to that next step. How do I create wealth? How do I make a good life for my family rather than just working my
create wealth? Such a funny comment in this industry.
Great
wealth. It's like, dude, I just want to make a dime.
Yeah.
I think
wealth
is
kind of just
but everyone wants to make a dime. That's like rung number one on the ladder, though. It's that should be, I'm going to use air quotes, easy, but it's in fact it's not.
So I guess to kind of simplify, even like from the outside looking in, Spencer, at what you're doing when you're self-employed and what most people in our industry think, you're by yourself, you're going to max out at how much you can make. So it's like you either work more, put in more hours, work 60 hours per week, or you hire people and you scale. You appear to have a pretty regimented schedule. And you also have not scaled. So you found ways to basically, and it's through efficiency and your processes and everything else, but you found a way to create, you're not going to obtain some massive amount of wealth in your lifetime, not doing carpentry,
I kind of disagree to a point. I mean, I think it is possible, but it's like you said, you have to be regimented and you have to have a plan.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking like, you're not going to be like the top percent of people working by
No.
yourself doing carpentry. Like
No.
you can make decent money, but it's you didn't get into this because you're like, I'm going to be rich and I'm going to put my feet up and I'll be able to afford everything that I want in my life. But you've kind of gone against a lot of things by not scaling and not taking on more work and not just being like, hey, I'm going to put 80 hours in this week. And I think that it's a good point to kind of shed light on and discuss how you do that, because I think most people do. They're like, hey, I'm self-employed. I can make more money because I can work more. And I don't think that's the right answer long term.
I guess. All right. So I'll dig into that. One thing I will say first is I don't talk about the money aspect of it a lot in the sense of a good sense, because I don't want to lead guys down this path who aren't ready for it and who aren't willing to pay the price for it. And I would say in this industry, if you're young, what I would tell myself starting out is you need to be ready to work twice as hard to make half as much. And if you have the mindset where I can tell you that you need to work twice as hard to make half as much and you still say, I still want to do this, then you probably got what it takes to be successful. But a lot of the young guys who could potentially be brought into this industry now are so entitled, and if they hear that easy money talk, I'd be setting them up for failure in life, because it is hard. It can be done. You can make good money, but it is going to be a long, hard fight to get there. So I'd say that first. It's really interesting. I've thought a lot about recently the whole idea of scaling and how many employees is ideal. And like you said, I've resisted that for a long time, and I've been told you need to hire more times than I could possibly count.
Stop talking to Nick.
Yeah. Well, Nick's at a whole, so I've done the math on this. I've talked to tons of guys and asked questions about it. And like as a one-man show, I'm very optimized. I'm not wasting my time. I've built up my tools so I'm efficient. I've built up my skills so I'm efficient. So you have that ability to earn a higher dollars per hour amount of money if you can just work. If you're not working, you're not going to be making it. The first employee you hire, your productivity, you're going to lose at least 2 hours a day, I think. Mm-hmm. So if my time, let's say we're $70 an hour, immediately I just lost $140 a day that I have to make up on that guy. And then the scale continues to go. Now, the other thing that happened, as soon as I hired that guy, my mind is no longer in the game as much. I'm having to think about this employee. I'm having to teach him. I'm having to fix his mistakes. I'm just not as focused. And what I think happens is then your amount of dollars that you can earn per hour goes down. And keep in mind, this is for me in a piece rate environment. I don't have the ability to charge by the hour and say, I'm going to charge you $70 an hour, whether I'm productive or not. My productivity is based on what I get done. So then you add a second guy, and that continues to go down. Now I'm only working, say I might work a 10-hour day normally. Now I'm only getting 6 billable hours. And instead of my $70 per hour, I'm only productive in the sense of I might only be yielding $50 per hour or $40 per hour, just because my head's not in the game, my phone's ringing more, I'm distracted. And what I've seen with so many guys is they get to the about 3 or 4 employee range, and that's where the bags have to come off. And now all they're doing is managing these guys, and they might have been able to make $150,000, $200,000 a year by themselves, but now they're having to make up all of that on 3 or 4 guys. And what I see is the worst spot typically is in that 3 or 4 guy range. But for me, with my personality, it's been key just to stay by myself, and then I can stay focused, and all of my time is productive time. And if you just sit down and like do the math on what you can make at a fair but reasonable hourly rate, and if you do put in the work and you work a high amount of hours, you can make good money. It's not the whole, 4-hour work week thing or whatever, where, you're getting up at 9 and quitting work at 1 o'clock. But if you want to go after it, you can make good money.
I think also it's important to note that like the entire success of yourself and like making that money is also based on putting out a quality, valuable product. Because there's a lot of guys and girls out there who go into a business because they can capitalize on a market, where I don't think that they're necessarily putting out the product that they're charging for. So like to be able to do this, get into this business and make a decent profit while also putting out valuable quality work is even tougher.
Yeah. And especially in new construction. I mean, the building industry is hard as a subcontractor. There's no selling yourself. There's no faking it. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is, like you said, it's the product and the price and the ratio that builder wants. And it's a tough business, but if you can establish a rhythm, like I said, where you're getting a decent hourly rate, the beautiful thing about new construction is you can put in a lot of hours and it doesn't really feel like you're working that hard.
Yeah.
To me.
But
So,
isn't it, you talk about the 3 to 4, like you start hiring people 3 to 4 and continuing. You're absolutely right. And I've talked about that before, is that when you start hiring people, you have to be okay with the fact that your productivity goes down, and the mistakes that you made and learned from are going to happen again. And you can help kind of catch some of those, but you have to understand that if you were at this peak quality and productivity, like all of that's going to dip for a portion of time. Mm-hmm. Now but it's I don't want to speak poorly against what you're getting at here, because you're absolutely right. You can make a decent wage working for yourself, but it's almost more of a short term thought process, where if you have 3 or 4 guys and you take the opportunity to, maybe I make half as much money this year and I'm making a ton of mistakes and productivity's down. I mean, the goal there would be to build them up to where you were once or close to it, to where you're back to making that money, because it's a longer term play. It's you're relying on multiple guys to, number one, stick around, number two, be able to grow with you and understand and adapt. But it's a different approach. But I guess what I'm getting at is it's more controllable. You work for yourself. You can set you work X amount of hours and you can bill X amount per hour and you can make a great living. Or if you want to build a business with employees and you want to manage them, you have to understand that that control is going to be less, and it's going to take a lot longer. Yeah.
I think it just ultimately comes down to what you want, what makes you happy, and what you find meaning in. I mean, I'm very much like, I just like doing the work myself. Like, to me, the idea, at least this could change, but at this point in life, for me to have 3 or 4 guys, even if they were doing really amazing things, it just doesn't resonate with me personally. And I think that could evolve, and I start getting a little bit older, that might change. But for now, I'm just truly really happy with what I'm doing. If I can keep doing it, then that's kind of what I'll do.
I think a lot of times people who get to that 3-4 man range, I think that a lot of times that growth happens where it's like, all right, I'm going to get my first employee, and then you start landing more work, and then you're going to hire another guy and another guy quickly, and there's always this turnover of people where it's like maybe two core guys, and then there's this like rotation of other people. And a lot of times it's not that those 4 people were brought up through that company, like where it's like, hey, you started off as a helper and now, you know, you worked your way up to now you're running things on your own. And then like the next guy comes in as the helper. I feel like a lot of times it's like a smaller amount of people in that core group, and then you land a job and people are like, well, we need bodies, and then you throw bodies, and then I think that's where it ends up. It's quick, rapid growth without kind of building up the structure of your team and how people work together and what people's responsibilities are, and you're just trying to put manpower on a job to make up for it. And I think that a lot of times ends up costing people too much money, and then they go out of business because it's like, you know what, I can't make money. I don't know why I can't make money. I don't understand why I can't make money.
Yeah. I think it's especially hard in the subcontracting world because you are pegged to those going rates where, you know, if that, you know, everybody wants to make a decent living, but it's just not there. And I feel like in new construction, especially for employees, like it is so tight. As I look at the numbers to bring on guys, that business owner has just got to be really optimized to make that work. I feel like.
I just think it's an investment too, and I mean, every investment is risky, right? But if you spend 2 years training somebody and you take a hit for those 2 years, and then for whatever reason, it could be a very valid reason that person leaves, and then you're kind of back in the same boat, bringing somebody on and training them. So now you're 3-4 years into it where you've just taken a hit for the past 3-4 years. But on the other side of the coin, there's like, the goal is to invest in somebody who's going to make your life easier and make you more profitable. It's tough to do that, especially when you're in a price-driven industry.
Yeah. It's funny because whenever I started YouTube, you know, a few years ago, in the forefront of my mind, it was a lot more like just what you were saying, with that thought of spending that 3 years or 4 years training that guy and then just to have them walk away. That to me just sounds so horrible. So terrible. I wanted, that was part of making the videos, was like, I want to explain this once, and then, you know, that next guy, if this guy doesn't work out, then I can go tell that guy, like, go watch this video first, because I'm not going to stand here and explain it, you know, that type of thing. But since then, I've really gotten pretty settled in where I'm at, and I don't see myself hiring at all. Now it's more just about the education aspect of it.
I just feel like the assumption that someone's going to watch it, it's the same as me handing over a set of drawings and a project schedule and saying, hey, you're now going to be accountable for this. No one digests it the same way that we do. No one digests that work and goes, hey, let me think back from that trim job. It's going to take me 17 days. So if I go from 17, which is me packing out the place, to 16 to 15 to 14, knowing that, hey, my critical path is I need to have this done on day 7. Otherwise, I never hit 15 and I never make money. And to stay later for the 2 days prior to that to make that happen. No one's doing that. Like, I find that now where we get great projects and then I walk onto a job and it's instantaneous that our header height's wrong or a wall dimension's wrong. Just literally get out of my truck, look at the building and go, what's happening there? And I'm not the guy there every day. So it blows my mind that all the drawings, all the drop boxes, all the builder trends, everything you can feed to people. And guess what? They're physically and mentally going to punch out at whatever time they want. Where for us, I'll flip through drawings all night. Like, it's in my blood and I love it. So I want to build it. Like right now we have a project that we're bidding and I've built this thing probably 10 times in my head. But will my guys that I hand it off to, take an even ounce of that same respect for that project? Or is it just work to them?
I think so much of that also is that basically your image or whatever you see that end result to be. And I think that you have to have that in the back of your mind. And I think that's a big thing that differentiates an employee from somebody who kind of has a bigger vision or has the bigger picture in mind, where anything that I do on a job, I'm thinking how this is going to affect 10 things down the road.
Yeah, the ripple effect.
It's not just the task at hand. And it could be a very, very simple task where it's like, you do this wrong and this could make 3 things much harder down the road, where you think, hey, it's a very simple task. It's ripping out these 3 things. But if you don't rip it out where we need to, or based on this or based on that, there's just so many factors. And I think that a lot of people don't spend the nights up, and they shouldn't, because they're not getting paid to do that, but they're not losing sleep thinking about how all of these pieces are going to come together at the end of the job.
But hold up. But they get paid if it gets screwed up.
For sure.
So it has to go both ways.
It should, but at the same time, like, I think that differentiates somebody who is an employee from being an owner. And that's like, if you are going to work for somebody else, that no matter what, you always have the opportunity to walk away from that. And like, that's just it. If you want all the weight, and I don't agree with it. I think that, if you should be doing your best work, but I think that it's human nature. No matter what, at the end of the day, you don't technically own that. So it's just like, you know what? If I go home, this place blows up. Like, it's not really my, like, I still have a job.
Well, that goes back to the can't see it from my house mentality as a carpenter.
It's tough because you don't have stake in it. And I don't think that I don't agree with it, but I'm a different mindset. So I also feel that I can't necessarily fault somebody. I can control their outcome and their destiny if they work for me, and I don't see them ever getting to that where it's like, I just won't invest my time in you any longer because I can't see, like, I see your cap, I see your ceiling, and I'm not going to waste my time trying to bring you up if you don't want to bring yourself up. But I can't fault them for, at 5 o'clock being like, hey, I'm out of here. Or, not thinking about 3-4 steps down the road, because that's just not really on them. Although it'd be nice to say, hey, yeah, it is.
God, I love you. If it was anyone else, I'd try and...
I'll tell you what, like, John, I live in the world of builders, and I see what builders go through and have to deal with. And just like what you're saying, like, you've got your vision, and then the second at 7 a.m. somebody steps on that job site, something is going wrong every single day.
Yeah.
I see it all the time. And like, I don't have any answers. I just say, I got all the respect in the world to builders to mentally deal with that. It is rough. I mean, it is rough out there.
Yeah. I don't know how you guys deal with it.
Like, and I think John, like, you probably feel the same way. It's like, I have to teeter the threshold in which I let something fly all the time.
Yeah.
And it's so hard. And it's, and most of the time I tell, you know what, run with it. And the moment I get home, I email him with an email for the next morning saying, no, rip it out. I only know the numbers because we looked at the numbers last year, and we did $150,000 worth of rework.
Yeah.
And it's like,
that seems extremely light for the stuff that I know you've reworked.
I feel like that's not that bad.
It's not even bad.
You could just hire one person or 2 people per year to just do all your rework.
That's the stuff that we have on record. But it's like,
it's still a lot.
I'm sitting here. I'm like, did I not include that kitchen?
0.
But it's like to look at that, and it's like part of me wants to say, holy crap! Like, I gotta be better about this. The other side of me is like, no, this is why you're being hired for these jobs. This is why you're being elevated into the opportunity to take on more, more detailed projects, because you're showing that you're not perfect, but you're doing everything to make these jobs perfect. And it's...
You really think that's why they're hiring you?
It's either that or the flannel.
Probably the flannel.
I
If
think
you have
so.
a V-neck on, then it's definitely the V-neck.
Yeah.
But you're probably
It's
right,
impossible to get everyone on the same page.
But
that's
that's-
just
so
the bottom line.
agreed,
You
and
cannot
it's-
get everyone on the same page. It doesn't matter how big or how small the project is.
But let's talk about the client.
Bring
from
two
this.
people in. It's you can't get them both on the same page.
But Spencer, you just said I have massive respect for you, and everything goes to shit 7 a.m. And the client, it's like there's no compassion for that.
No.
It's
Because they're spending the money.
It's right, and it's like, I'm sitting here
That's
trying
funny,
to bring
Nick.
up.
I read on one of your YouTube comments. This has been a while back, but I just happened. It was one of the top comments, and this guy said he was saying something about for $1 million. If I spend $1 million on a house, I expect perfection.
Right. Oh yeah.
Like, dude, $1 million doesn't buy you anywhere close to perfection.
Right. It depends on how big the house is.
$10 million isn't perfection. It's like I've walked projects that are tens of millions of dollars, and it's like
surrounded by disappointment.
Yeah, and it's
then,
I thought I wanted to walk in there and just be like walk around with my jaw dropped, and it's like holy crap, but it's not. It's like, all right, I'm not doing that bad a job.
Well, that's half the when you want to go see Patterson and AFT, and you want to go see that's part of the draw,
right?
Is to be like, I want to see how perfect this really is.
Yeah,
right.
I do too.
Not like in a sarcastic way. It's like, no, I really want to.
What's their
I want
barrier?
that bar
What's
to
their
be
threshold?
raised so high that I'm like, oh my god, I have to go after something. But to date, there's been projects that all three of us have walked, and we've been like, okay, we'll wait till we get in the car.
And it's we're doing this project. We've been on it for over a year now, and it's it's a small space. It's under 3,000 square feet, but the client's level of expectation is through the roof. Every time we walk a space, we're like, this place looks perfect. They're in there with a microscope and going through stuff, and I'm fine with it. It's taxing. It pulls the rug out from under you, but it's making us evaluate all right, how do we approach these things? What can we catch beforehand?
Well, do you ever double check how you're setting those expectations? I drive home and go, did I do this all wrong?
Yeah, I mean, this job, there really wasn't an architect on the job, number one. So most of it's been design build, and the client relationship it's always been good, but it's very casual, where it's we're updating them constantly, but they'll update when there's they run into something that they don't like or something along that lines. The point is, I'm so we're so close to being done at this point that I'm I just want to see what this looks like when it's done. And if I was telling someone this the other day, it's if it wasn't for COVID, we were going to throw a big party there. Massive, catered, invite everyone that we that was the who's who in the neighborhood. We wanted to show this thing off. It was going to be awesome. And it's of course now you can't do that.
You can do a virtual.
Yeah, big Zoom meeting. Hopefully this goes away and we can have a party there. But it's I don't know how I went on this got on this tangent, but it's that threshold and what you can let fly. It just, that's so hard. And then relaying that back to the client, where it's we're doing this for free. This isn't, how do I communicate the fact that I didn't like the way these built-ins looked, so I took them out and I rebuilt them, and it just cost me $10,000. It's but I can't communicate that. It's the expectation was
that only compounds the issue.
Yeah, you should have.
Then you put money
we
on
never
something
would. It's never.
I know, but
it's if it ever came up, it's well, you should have done it. You should have known to do it that way the first time. And I think Tyler, you said it once. It's we can't know everything. We're human.
Yeah.
It's like the doctor reference has been brought up so many times since we had this a couple episodes ago. It's like you go into a doctor and they try something. Oh, that doesn't work. Here's your bill. We're going to try something else. And it's like, but builders, it's like, no, you're expected to go in and build this thing perfect the first time.
And know how much of time and materials and everything
else. You better know
it's
how
gonna
much
take.
it costs, because I'm not paying $1 more. And
So-
if I'm over budget, then I'm telling everyone that you ran over budget.
So, like, we're responsible for setting expectations. Spencer, are your builders setting expectations? I know that you've built up a rapport with a lot of the guys and girls who you work with all the time. But when you were first starting to build this relationship, or if somebody comes to you tomorrow, are you setting those expectations, or are you relying on the builder to set those expectations for you?
Honestly, I don't think I've ever really had expectations set from the builder. I mean, that may sound crazy, but
So then you've done a good job.
yeah, I feel like I always, even from day one, stepping foot on a new construction job site, my standards were really high, and that's never really been a thing. And the builders that I do work for, I've worked for them long enough. Like, they wouldn't even have to show up on the job site once whenever I'm there. It's
So you would hear it if you weren't hitting if you were subpar on your installations. But, like, I feel being that you're executing at the level that they desire, if not higher than that, you don't have issues.
Yeah. If we're going to have an issue, it's simply going to be on a communication thing. Like, this detail was this way, but then it got changed to this, and you did it this way, or you were supposed to put trim here and you didn't, or this mantle was wrong height or something like that. Not really a quality issue, more of a communication issue.
So this is what kind of blows my mind, where, like, I think the quality issue is important, the communication issue, and, like, but even you go in, you're not having people necessarily lay out ceilings for you or paneling for you. You're using your expertise, your judgment to do that. And that's where it's almost unbelievable to me that these builders who hire you aren't willing to pay more than the next guy, because you are increasing the value of the product that they're putting out. You're making their lives so much easier, and this entire process is so much more seamless. And that's always where, like, I know that you're competing with so many people, and, you don't have the opportunity, you can't be afforded to hire somebody else to make your life easier. But it's like, you're making, if Nick and John, if you had a trim guy that you knew you could have show up and the communication's going to be perfect and the execution's going to be at the level you desire, if not higher, it's like, yeah, I pay you all day, whatever you want. Like, you're making my life easier. And that it's crazy to me that you don't necessarily have that opportunity.
I think I'd maybe back that up a little bit and say I do, to a degree. I mean, I think if you ask the builders that I do work for, they would probably say that it is worth it to hire me, to, even if, I don't know, I have no idea, but let's just say I was 5% more expensive, 10% more expensive. We're not talking like big numbers here. It is still competitive, but even if I'm a little bit more expensive, their headaches and their time and knowing that they're not going to have a callback and they're not going to have a disaster with a homeowner, that I think that they still come out money ahead.
100%.
Yeah, especially the builders who have the clientele that are crazy,
So
Yeah.
Let's paint a picture here. So the guys that are, you talk about being competitive, the guys that are listening, that they're in this rat race where it's always about the numbers, you just shed light on something that I think is really important, is that if you're 5, 10, 15% higher, but you're taking the headache away from the builder. Now, the important thing, or I guess the difficult part here, is how you got the builder to trust you, to know that, hey, I can pay him 15% more because he's going to get the headaches away. I think that's the connecting piece, and it's probably blatantly obvious in the sense that, well, it took time and I had to develop rapport with these guys and blah blah blah. But that's where I think a lot of people get trapped, is that I need to cut, I need to under prices so I can get the job because I need to keep busy, and then, well, that's what he's used to paying me. And for me, I've had the conversation with some of our subs and explain, like, listen, I know you're not charging enough. Like I've seen other trades price this job. I know you're not charging enough, and I know you're strapped because you're asking for the check before you finish the job. It's like, let's get you in a better position. I want to see you succeed. I don't want to see you go away when the market takes a dump. I want to see you create wealth, right? I want to see you be successful at this. So if you need to raise your prices, I'm comfortable with that because I don't have to manage. I don't have to walk through the steps because you know what I'm expecting. Plus, if I'm paying you a little bit more money, you're probably you're probably not in your head and trying to speed things up so you can get the money faster and get out. You can slow down and take your time and do things right, and we're not running into those issues. So I guess going back, what was that process in getting to a point with a builder where you could charge more?
Well, I don't know. You say like could charge more. Like, I honestly don't even. How do you know if you're charging more? How do you know if you're charging less? Especially once you get into the custom realm of houses, that's really hard to even know because, sure, you could get multiple bids, but frankly, if you're in this business very long at all, I can give you a bid half of what I might charge next year just to get my foot in the door. So if you're going to say, I want to check Spencer's prices and bid me against this other guy, myself, I don't even care what the other guy's price is because I know that number is not reality. There's a good chance it's not reality. So if it's more, if it's less, I don't care. The only way to really tell that is if you're working with somebody for a longer period of time, in my opinion, to truly discover that what their pricing is. I don't know, John, if you would agree with that or not. But so it's hard to say exactly, but my builders know what I make. Like the one builder in 2019, I worked for him all year. So all he has to do is look at what I build him for, and he knows exactly what I'm making and whether that's fair or not, in his eyes, and he's got to decide, and I still work for him. So obviously it's not too bad. Another builder I worked for, he told me this year, he's like, we were standing there talking. He's like, you guys are making all the money, and meaning subs are making the money. And that's, I think, true to a degree. Like I think a lot of builders, for the amount of risk and headaches that they have, I don't think they make enough money. So I don't know. Some of it's just perception. My price discovery, a lot of it is just like, I know my skill level. I know I can look at a job and see how long it takes me with the amount of effort I'm taking to do it. I can look at how much would I have to pay an employee to do this, meaning how much are my competitors having to charge in order to do this and stay afloat. And I can get a pretty good idea. And I mean, I think I'm very competitive, especially in the higher end realm, quote unquote, with what I do. I think it's a good value. But then if I start coming down, like last year I did a job for a builder and I hated it because the moment I stepped foot on the job, I knew I was not doing it as fast as their other guys who just slapped crap together and banged it out. And they called me out on like being like 5% more. And it's like, if I'm not worth 5% more than this crap, I mean, we're talking like complete just blast and trim on. If I'm not worth 5% more, then that's just not a good fit. I'm in the wrong part of the market doing that. So, it's, I don't know if I answered your question or not. But,
I feel like, I think that if you can either make them money, and that's not necessarily like by making them money, it's freeing up their time. It's less headaches. It's less mistakes. It's making them look good for their customers, where it's like, hey, this is who we're going to use. If you have a builder that uses you and they know what to expect and they know the level of execution and the quality that you're going to put forth for them, I mean, how many trips to meet with you are they saving? Where it's like an hour of time over the course of that, even at pre-construction, walking through or plans, you're making them money even if you're more expensive. And I think that's how you can justify being more expensive. You're either making, like, you're delivering a product that's better than what other people are able to deliver. You're reducing the amount of mistakes. You're making their finished product look better. And you're just making their lives easier. Yeah. Like I would pay somebody more money and not have to stop by the job every day after work to make sure they cleaned up after themselves, to make sure that they wipe pee off the toilet seat. Like, you know, that's worth it to me to pay you more. If I had to pay you, if it was a 3-day job and I had to pay you like $500 more to not have to stop by there on my way home 3 nights in a row, I would, because it's worth, like, the customer's paying that. And you're making my life easier, and you're delivering a better finished product. The customer's having a better experience with you, with me. It's a win-win for everyone. Like,
yeah, I've got one builder I work for, and I've worked for since basically the very beginning that I started subcontracting. And the subs that he uses are still the same guys 6 years ago for the most part. And he's big on that philosophy, like, find guys who you know what they're going to do, that you can trust. And even if you're paying a little bit more, you don't have all the headaches and you don't have to spend so much money on project management. And he and his wife they're building a lot of houses, just the two of them. And the only way that's possible is good subs.
Yeah. I think that a lot of times the issue is on these bigger jobs, and it's on high dollar jobs too, where the project manager or the general contractor on the job, you know, the customer wants them to price this out with multiple subs so that they can get like a frame or a point of reference, where sometimes they're creating that value for their customer by bringing in a less expensive sub for them, where it's like, oh, look, we just cleared this space in the budget because this guy's numbers came in here. We can dump that over on this side, where it's like, I don't know if you're really saving them at that point. Like, I don't know if that's how you should be bringing value to that project.
Mm-hmm. That's tough.
John?
Oh, man. This is a great conversation.
Let it rip. I truly, you know, a lot of times I listen to every podcast. So I've really wanted to pick John's brain many times on some of these subjects.
I'll turn my mic off if you want.
Well, no, I didn't mean that. But I mean,
I was
John,
missing from the first one.
You obviously have a trim sub. I mean, let's say I'm your trim sub, and what are you looking for in me?
Are we on day one, or do we have a relationship?
Both. First off, how would I even approach you? Let's say, you know what? I think this guy, because I do this. I look at builders and I say, I think that guy would be good to work for.
Chocolate chip cookie. And OJ.
It's just little things. It's tough because we do get a lot of people that reach out that want to jump in the mix, and I've been
calling. Does that?
People hit you up on social, and I literally nowadays I just defer that to someone on site. And if one of the guys feels a connection and feels confident with those people, then hey, give it a try and have them price it out and see where they fall in the mix. I mean, A, it's going to be personality. B, it's going to be pricing. And it's when I say with, you know, if you're going to be comfortable, it's like, are they answering the questions right? Hey, like I remember one day a guy walked in and goes, I'm going to trim out this house. I'm like, all right, how long do you think it's gonna take? He's like, 14 days. I'm like, so how are you gonna, do the miters? And he's like, well, I'm gonna, pocket screw. And I'm like, there's no way you're doing this in 15 days. Like just like obvious things like that flag it like, well, this guy's blowing smoke. But what I found that once you have a relationship with somebody, and to Tyler's point, that I don't know if I trust anybody long enough that from one job to the other, I can still trust that they're going to have the well-being of that project and me in mind. I can never assume that. I have to go into it going, hey, here's my list of assumptions, and I have to, what I hear all the time coming out of my mouth is over communicate to this person, do this, this, and this. But what I can say to that is, like GDM, I have them price it. I go, hey, give me a number, just so it's not an open checkbook. But for the most part, they struggle at doing that. So I go, hey, it's cost plus for them. Let them run with it. But for the most part, I see the value in trim more than most people do. So I do that. And then if I have to squeeze the budget somewhere else, just because I know we talk about a lot of cost plus, but even in cost plus, you have to give someone a ballpark budget per category and what these things are going to cost. And if it climbs a little bit somewhere else, the person signing the checks normally without a ton of influence from you won't see the difference, because they hired you and they assume that the quality is going to be there no matter what. It's a gimme. So it's like, all right, how do I instill quality but also still, like, I found that, I mean, Nick and I have talked about this in the past, like we've passed subs back and forth, and it's like you just never know what you're going to get. And especially today in COVID, where someone goes on unemployment, the crews that you hired, the lead guy might be the same, but the guys that fall in underneath them aren't.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you think on your jobs, a part of that issue is just the scale that you're building? Because if you were building a size house where you could have one guy come in and trim the whole job out, and like scheduling wasn't an issue, I think it'd be far easier, like two guys, it'd be far easier to trust that, knowing that that crew is the same job in and job out. They're pricing but right now you trim a job and maybe it's the same company. It might not be the same faces that are on your job the next time. They never met you. You've never seen them before, but they have the same name on the van.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying is you never assume it's you. You always have to see what's going on and still be there for those little moments. I think that's where the experience comes in that we don't talk about is like my guys, like Ben and I talk about all the time, is like our guys will hover at the wrong times. Like they'll be all over the job during a point where it's absolutely useless for you to be there, when then they bounce to go get coffee, whatever it is. And that was the critical moment. Like 2 days from the day you were hovering was the time. And it's really tough because, I mean, Tyler, the crew that we use for our trim, it's like Lucho and two other guys. I know who they are. I know when they show up, I get them. But there's been times where we did a project, that huge sport court that time. We put one tile guy on that entire thing because he's the only guy trusted on doing that, where we had every single room was intricate, but we had to set that expectation going, hey, I don't know. It fit the client, meaning, hey, we don't know when we're going to be done with this. Yeah. And honestly, the design totally dictates that kind of answer. But it was a kind of that was the unicorn. And I feel like Spence is that exception to the rule for a lot of what we're talking about, because I can't name off any, we have like 2 to 6 of everyone in the whole business. And there's no one that I would trust as much as I get the expectation that I trust Spencer. If I had the time and be like, hey, I'm just going to throw you in there, done. I don't have to show up. Yeah. I could do a couple sketches on the wall. Here's your stack of trim. I'll see you in 3 weeks. That would be the best thing.
And I think, like we talk about this, I think I could truly say, like, I think if you ask the builders that I work for, they would say that I care about their company as much as they do. Because especially my main guy, I am as invested in his success as my own. Yeah. I completely depend on that. Yeah. So I mean, obviously I just want to be a good person, do a good job, but then it's 100% in my interest, because whenever I'm there, I act like a project manager. If I see a painter there doing something dumb, I'm shooting a text message. And believe me, that happens all the time, because I want to see the project go right in every aspect.
I return the favor. If I see like an electrician standing around, I'm like, yo, Pavel crushes it on a daily basis and busts his ass more than I do. There's no way anyone's cool with this guy standing around. And I don't call the guy out, but I'm just like, hey, because it's the same thing as like when I walk onto a job site and I see an issue with like a frame. I don't go right to the framer and go, hey, we need to fix this. I've now cut the knees out from underneath my PM if I do that. So I have to it sounds like super counterproductive to be able to walk away and go take 5 photos, send them to my guy and go, hey, this needs to get solved. And then I need to circle back with you and understand why you didn't catch this if you're here every day, 3 times a day, and I'm here every other day. Because otherwise, if I squared away with that framer, then my guy never learned anything. And then I need to look at this point of contact on the job every single time across 5 jobs. It just, my mind cooks just thinking about it.
One question I've got for you that I think is really interesting, and I hear you guys talk about cost plus all the time. I haven't done anything other than fixed price in probably 5 years.
You doing it per door count in linear foot?
Yep, and then if it's custom details, I just put a number on it. And honestly, like, I feel like that's part of what I need to be successful, because I want to, like, your guy might say, well, I'll work for X per hour, but I don't want to work for that. I want to be more efficient for that and make more per hour than that. So if he's saying I'll work for $50 an hour and I want to make 80, then I can't, how do I compete with that? So one of the things in my business that I've just always done, and I think it's kind of a market thing too, but I've always been expected to just give a fixed price from the get-go. And I think it probably works for you because you're in a cost plus situation. And I think that, I don't know for sure, but I think most of the builders that I work for maybe I said that wrong. You're in a cost plus situation. Mm-hmm. The builders I work for are typically fixed, I think. But that gets a little weird though, because sometimes I think they're fixed for parts of the job and maybe not for my part of the job. I really don't know. But irregardless.
Or they have enough cushion that, since they've done over the years, that they have enough cushion on there that if you don't change your numbers, then it works out in their benefit.
And I think eventually you work for someone long enough, especially if they're kind of building the same type of homes. Okay, a coffered ceiling is going to cost this much. You did a coffered ceiling for this much last time. It really shouldn't deviate from that unless there's a major design change.
And that's why we roll with it. Like our guy, we're doing a 4-piece in the dining room. We're doing a coffer. Don't know the details yet because I want it to be different. But the time frame that it's going to take to do that coffer or that fireplace is going to be the same. So it's on me, not on you. I track those numbers. So going back to what you said before is like, hey, Tyler, like, oh, I'm going to have a couple people bid against this to figure out what it is. No, my spreadsheet tells me exactly where it should fall.
Yeah.
And if you give me, like, I caught my painter a couple of jobs ago where he was right on with my spreadsheet 3 jobs in a row. Then he went to the 4th job and it went 20 grand higher. I was like, yo, what's the word? I didn't go through all the burden of hiring 2 other painters to come through, walk it, and go over that scope. My spreadsheet told me exactly where it fell. And I go back to him and go, I don't need to be the bad guy, which is what I love with my clients. The same thing is like, no, the spreadsheet's telling me this. So explain to me how I need to recalibrate my spreadsheet. And then it not like I think that confrontation changes because it's just about the numbers and, hey, how'd you calculate it? Maybe I missed something. Let's clarify this. Otherwise, the spreadsheet rules because it's got data going back beyond them. And I do adjust it and I go, hey, if I need to know that I need to change this, this multiplier, then let me know what that is and why it did that. Because like right now I'm pricing a big job and it's like, all right, I have it broken out by room count, linear foot of trim, all my plaster, all that stuff. I have it all done and I'm just taking it off of the past projects. And I tell the clients that, I go, hey, the project I walked through, I go, hey, we walked this house, and he goes, it's going to need a steel beam there. And I go, yeah, it's probably about a 46 footer. And the guy is an engineer, whips out his laser and he's like, oh, it's 47.5. And I go, then I'm perfect. The fact that I just nailed that, it's pretty accurate. So I said to him afterwards, I go, I'm going to put a ballpark price together. It's going to be a lot like that beam. I'm going to be totally within reason that if I'm naturally guessing at it, then I'm pretty close. And that's how I said it. So then I dig into it because it'll be off. And if it's early enough that if I'm off by that small percentage and they're not cool with it, then guess what? We should not be riding this train.
So you're having most of your subs though give you basically a fixed price. You said that you aren't with your trim guy, just to give him a little bit of leeway. You're leaving a little bit of.
I mean, I'm having them price it as they get into it, because I really feel like that if someone prices it now and the product's not live to me, then there's enough cushion on that. Then if I multiply that cushion across 25 subs, that project may not be feasible for the client because everyone's guessing at it and adding float. So like I said to the client, I go, hey, I'm going to price this out, but I'm going to price out the beginning of it, like foundation, demo, stuff that people can walk, HVAC, windows. But besides that, I'll price it out. If I want to price it up with two demo guys, I'm still going to give my guy last look.
Yeah.
Just a kind of
But it's just like courtesy. Even you have an electrician or somebody who's working for your electrician standing around, technically they're billing you for that.
Yeah, I mean, they give me a kind of a roundabout number, like, hey, the last house is 21K. All right, then it's 21K. Anything beyond that, you need to let me know how that changed. Yeah. That's really what I want to know, because it's about efficiencies going both ways. If I have them price out every house.
That's the thing. Like, at the end of the day, you have somebody who's standing around on your job who's technically you're paying, your customers are paying. Correct. And there's like a change all of a sudden, or it's this amount more, but they weren't necessarily hustling or grinding. And that's the same thing where it's like it's not the same people, it's not the same output. And you'd love to think that I could put these 5 guys on this job and a different set of 5 guys on that same job, and they're going to be done at the same time, but that's not necessarily the case. Mm-hmm. Which I think complicates things. It's very similar to my model and Spencer's model, where it's pretty easy to delineate where the numbers are, where you went wrong, what it's going to cost, what you can make. There's not a lot of factors that change that often.
Hold on, do you guys just have teams?
I think so.
We're on the top. This a team thing?
Where am I on yours?
You guys are both bottom.
Oh, we're up top.
Why aren't they? This is okay. I was thinking about this the other day. Why aren't they the same on everyone's screen? Wouldn't that make sense?
Mine are all on top.
Maybe we should talk to. Yeah. I feel like we need to get Bill Gates on the phone.
Because it goes Spencer, me, Tyler, John.
I know, but
they're
breaking it up.
I have mine like smaller so that I can make sure that my recording doesn't check out.
I just think it's singles versus multiple companies.
Yeah. It's a great debate. You guys can keep the multiple employee thing and scaling and growing and all that.
It's just so I'm working
it's funny, sorry, Tyler. It's funny because you guys always say that, like, you guys can keep the scaling, and I feel like me and John both go back and forth, like, kind of want to do what he's doing. But I also kind of like this. But I kind of want to do
I think you guys have solved the whole thing about, like, security. Like job security, doing one project at a time. There is this kind of uncertainty on the horizon always.
Yeah.
And there is something that doesn't make me comfortable, but at the same time, I don't know what have fallen in love with more is the scale of the product that is now coming my way because of the experience I have, that it's my duty to say no to certain things. And if I can't do that, then I have to then find the right people to put in place. It's the same as going from actually operating a company and operating the tools to subcontracting it. That was the bigger step for me. And then once I solved that, it was like, whoa, I can do way more. So I think that's the biggest leap, is that, I think we talked about having employees and not wrapping I think the biggest thing of having your first employee is just knowing that you're going to be frustrated, no matter the loss of $120 a day.
Be okay with it, not just know it, but you have to be okay with it.
Yeah, exactly. You have to know it's coming, anticipate it, and then be able to work it in where, hey, I get that this is going to be a loss, and that this person could walk in 2 years or 2 months, whatever it is, and I'm cool with that. But I look at it more of, when you guys said all that, I said, hey, but what happens if I was comfortable pricing that out to have someone else do it, where it might be a one-off with me. Maybe it's a Fine Paints of Europe project where I got to bring a certain somebody in do that, I would want to build a relationship, but there's no strings attached, meaning it's a flat fee and it's gone. If I thought about that with the employee for the first year, meaning I budgeted it in there to my product. If I was you guys looking back, I'm like, all right, on this next job, Spence, I know my price point's been this. I'm going to add a little in for some guy that's going to fill my glue stick. You know, find my just someone that's going to organize my shit, you know, and load up or unload, whatever it is, just having that little bit of help. I'm going to start there. Not that you're increasing your pricing, but that if that person doesn't fit, you haven't lost a dime. Imagine if you approach it that way.
See, that's kind of the challenge though with new construction subcontracting is I feel like the ceiling on my pricing is set. And so if I bring people in, you know, if I'm remodeling, okay, I bring a few employees in, but then I can kind of come around the back end with material markup, or I can charge for my project management. With subcontracting, I feel like I've got to figure out a way to skim my salary off the top of these guys. It's not necessarily like I can just, you know what, I'm going to hire, I think I'm going to raise my prices a little bit. Maybe have you ever
had that talk with one of the guys? Because where are they going to go? Like, who are they going to go to? And is it that I feel like there would be a dramatic drop off from what they get with you to the next runner up.
You're probably right, but quite honestly, I feel like I can get that money by myself. So why even screw around with it?
Hypothetically, it's icy outside. You fall, crank your elbow, and your production goes.
I'm just going to sit at home, and I've got money in the bank, and I don't have anything to worry about.
But long term.
You know what? You said something.
Bitcoin.
No, don't go there. You said something, it was quite a few podcasts ago, but it stuck with me about being a millionaire by 40. Okay? I'm 32. Just think about this. I'm 32. We have no personal debt, no business debt. How you go after it, and you can stash a lot of money away and have a lot of autonomy by the time you're not very old.
But that's retirement, which you shouldn't dabble in. So hypothetically, like if you were to go get a business job at 18 and whatever, 22, whatever, you graduate college, and then you start accumulating that 401k, that retirement, while you're still doing your day job, that's accruing while you build, your employment. This is the same. So long term, you can't use that 401k that if you get hurt. My point is hypothetically, let's not even say the hurt part. Let's say you get sick, God forbid. Wouldn't it be more beneficial to your family and you to have something like a sidekick? Maybe it's Robin to you, Batman, that can dial this in. That way things keep going while you figure it out, and that there is a price structure there that I feel like you're close enough to the builders that you could have this discussion and go, hey, I'm getting older. The same way you had the site to see how you produce this income that you can create a good life after the fact for retirement. Why not do that? I'm not saying split the crew in half and have two Spencers and they do another house at the same time you do yours. I'm just saying, how do you get it where you could peel off a little bit more? I know you're comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm challenging you with this.
I'm just good. I'm just good. Like, it's kind of like what we talked about, either processing things on like 10 or 20 different, thought patterns. And I've been through this 1,000 times, and I'm just like, I'm good where I'm at.
So how about the people that aren't as good as you and they're 45 to 55 and they're still trying to find that million? And yeah, they shouldn't have employees if they can't figure that out. I know what you're going to say, but it's like, what is a good outlet for them? What's their first step if you were to bring somebody in? What would you think about?
I mean, the first thing in my style of business, I feel like you have to get your expenses down. Go after it hard whenever you start out. Get your overhead paid for, pay off any debt, and get your margins nice and wide, and stash as much as you can away. But honestly, this is just a hard business. It's a hard business. If I really wanted to run multiple guys, I don't think I'd be doing it in trim. Not in my market. I think it's just spinning your wheels. There's just not, it just doesn't work for me.
Anyone else just hear that?
I thought it was coming from my house.
I have to go pee.
I looked at my house. It's like,
I didn't know where it was coming from.
It's I don't think that there's one right or there's one wrong. I think it comes down to what you want, what makes sense for you, what meshes with your personality.
Personality is huge.
Yeah, I also feel like that a lot of us are hardworking enough, smart enough, competent enough, good-natured people that if something with Spencer were to fall through or he got hurt. Uh-oh, did anyone hear that? Okay. Go find mommy, okay? Okay? What are you jumping for? She peed in her panties a little. She's jumping at it. Can you shut that door, please? Thanks.
gotta get that toilet in upstairs.
I know. There is one upstairs that's closer than this one, too.
I threatened my oldest with 2 weeks no PS4 if he made unreasonable noise, so I'm pretty sure he just would have peed his pants and just stayed right where he was at.
I don't even get how she just like came into the bathroom and peed and then ran out telling me that she like peed some in her panties.
For the record, I think she skipped out.
Yeah. But I feel like you would have, if you structure your business or your lifestyle a certain way and you have money put away and you have a savings and you've lived a smart, manageable lifestyle within your means and you got hurt or something didn't go right with your business, that you would have enough connections at this stage of the game to pick back up in short time. You know, like I know I would like to think if something happened tomorrow where like I couldn't do what I'm doing anymore, that I have enough of a network and people that I've done right by that I could pick up with something else.
Absolutely.
And still get by, you know. I think if I'd burnt a lot of bridges, or I didn't do really nice work, or I didn't always put my best foot forward or stand behind my work, or you know, try and learn and grow, that I might be stuck with the short end of the stick if something were to go south. But I don't think that I would go very long without work if something were to happen.
Okay, that is not as much as fun as my hypothetical.
No,
but
it's not.
I want to hear you two come up with a goddamn business plan that doesn't have you swinging a hammer in the next 2 months. Can we do that?
If
Probably.
I were
you know what,
to
John,
do,
actually, I seriously, like, I would love to be a project manager. Like, you talk about that science and that art of building a good house. I was literally having a conversation about a job opportunity as a PM recently.
yeah, you'd be building a house in like 3 weeks.
But no, I seriously, like, I love that. I'm not quite there yet, but someday, if I was to do anything, I honestly think I would sooner hire on with a builder as a PM than I would hire 3 guys.
Same.
So you never know.
Look at you two with the best answers in the business.
I think
like it.
I do. I think I'd be in the same boat. I don't think I would necessarily look to make grow my business within my business.
It's funny. I
haven't
believe
done
Spencer more than you.
Dude, I haven't done it so far.
I know, but I believe Spencer could let go of control.
I couldn't.
And running a project. Something about Tyler even.
I think that honestly, if I were to, so right now, I think that there's somewhat of a hole in my market for well-trained, thought-out design. I think that there's a lot of talented designers who can bring stuff together and it can look good. But I don't think my market, there's like a lot of traditional architecture, and there's a lot of people who've just like, they're the go-to people and nobody's getting into that. And I think that that would potentially be a business outlet to go in and start like working, not necessarily as like a consultant, but start getting high-level design done, or being a part of that, being that I've been in the mix, actually hands-on doing the work for a while. And then I think that that control wouldn't necessarily be my responsibility. I could hand that off to somebody, or I could be as involved or uninvolved as I want to be. Because right now, like, I'm even working a job for a builder, and there's a designer on the job, and all of the moving parts, I'm sitting here and I'm kind of like, all right, so I do this every day without 5 other people coming here and like making me stop working. What the heck's going on right now? But it's, like, there's a designer on the job, and I'm taking it upon myself to make a cardboard template to put up for the customer to see the size of the mantle, because like her and the designer picked it out. They picked it out with this like very intricate shape in it that it has a lot of character. For me, it just doesn't really make sense. Like, it doesn't fit with everything. So I'm like, it's not my job, but I'm definitely going to go trace this out on some cardboard and put it up on the wall for her to see and be like, and then I sent it to the designer and was like, hey, I put a mock-up on the wall for you. Like, interested to hear what your thoughts are on this, where, I don't know, I'm still doing it.
Yeah, but I think the fact is that you're the only one that could see that it was wrong. If it was scaled correctly, you would never have had to do a mock-up, correct?
Yeah, it's not. The problem is that it's not the right piece of wood for this entire. There's a lot of things wrong with it, and there's no way to make it right.
But this is you hinting at it. This is you giving a nod to going, hey, I'm giving you an out.
Yeah. And like, I went through that, and I was very polite and didn't want to step on toes. But then I was like, I want to get this, dude, because I don't want to get that thing finished and then get it put in and then put the stone around it and get done and be like, oh no, that doesn't work. Or like, yo, if I put it up there and it's what you like and you love it, cool. But I want to make sure that this is really what you want.
Right? Dude, I tell people that the biggest thing I manage is regret. A client's regret, my regret, anything that we couldn't have thought about ahead of time that I'll regret later, that it's at the point of no return. It's like I'm trying to teach my son that for driving. It's like, when the light's turning yellow and you're like a certain gap from the light, and you're like, do you just go for it, or is it obnoxious and you get pulled over?
You gotta stop. I'm pretty sure if you can think, you have to stop.
But where do you find that in the project, in that mantle? Like, there's so many people in the industry, Tyler, that would get all the stock there, start doing it instead of tracing it, or I would pencil it up to see it for scale. But there's not enough skilled people to do that, to even try it. And then there's other people that just go about it, and then by the time they realize that it's wrong, guess what?
Yeah.
The client will go, I just want it done. It's close enough. So it's just managing that part of it.
I think that's why for me, in the scale of things that I do, it's easy. It's not easy, but it's manageable, and I'm able to execute at a certain level because I'm there. I'm controlling that. Even like, there's a rough sketch for this from the designer. We meet with the designer, the GC's there, the customer's there. But like, I'm going through all the detailing and the hearth extension size and the code size that we need, and like what makes sense to me from an installation standpoint. And I'm just like, I don't know, what would they be doing if I weren't there? Like, is this why I was brought on in the first place? But there's just so many moving parts, even on a small job like this, that it's like, how do you not have your hand that deep into all of this? That's in order to get, if I didn't care and I just wanted to put stuff up, then like yeah, I guess I wouldn't need to go through all that, or I'd have to be okay with ripping stuff out or redoing stuff because I didn't ensure that every step of the way everyone was on board with what we did. You know, I taped up the hearth extension size. I taped up like the entire mantle assembly size on the wall, put up the mantle where it looks right to me, so it's like where a hypothetical TV down the road could possibly go, and like putting blocking in the wall that she has 8 inches up or down if she decides that she wants to raise it or lower it. Because, like, I don't know, people don't always make those decisions. People like to see it in the space, and I want to make sure that everything's in order for us, that if she says, hey, you know what, now that the stone's getting raised up, I'm going to go 2 inches higher with that mantle, like, I don't have to open the wall. But that's easy because I'm doing all of it. But if I was, like, managing people to do that, I'd shoot myself. I keep making these, I wouldn't be able to handle it. I think that things would get missed, and you'd hit, if you were really good at your job, you'd maybe hit 90%.
John, how do you handle your trim specs?
You don't want to know.
You strike me as much more just kind of, I don't know, fly by the seat of your pants on site, like figuring it out once you're in it. Is
yeah,
that accurate?
It's all in my head. I just have to get it all out. And that's the problem with, for the record, I am completely jealous of the two of you. That if I could figure out some sort of formula to make this all work, where I shrink it down to one build, I would crush them that hard and make it happen. So to flip it around, when I gave you guys the ultimatum, I would love to figure it out myself. But no, I mean, I literally, you know, I deal with Ryan at Kukin, and like right now we're doing a house that's coming up, and I know that GDM will be the trim crew. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm going to make my PM do a little bit of work and price out 2 other guys because he needs to do that part of it. He needs to learn that due diligence and the value with that PM and subcontractor relationship, not just me dictating it. But I will do that with Ryan, figure out what the trim package is going to be, and then we lay it all out, and then I usually trace it on every window. This is the specs, I want to clarify. Mm-hmm. The spec homes and some even the custom ones that we do that we're kind of designing it. I'll then draw it in each window. If it's a 4-piece crown or at plaster stage, I will then trace out all the wainscot and all that stuff. So when they walk in, it just, like right now the spec we're doing, same electricians we always have. New client, I got one of those huge Sharpies. I know I'm jumping from trim to electro, but I know that there's a drawing that's from the architect for the lighting plan. I went through with the client and just said, hey, this is how we think we'd light it. And we sharpied out every location on the floor, the subfloor, and said, what do you guys think? Because I don't want to assume that they can read it off the drawings. Mm-hmm. I want them to see it in the space. And like we have bed wall written out, we have door swings written out, and it takes like maybe 45 minutes to do it all. And so Spence, there is a drawing that shows a lot of the detail. Mm-hmm. But I'm assuming nothing. And so I'm going to run through it all. And then my electrician's literally just got to measure out to make sure it's all centered and 2 feet off and know that the recess count, it's color by numbers. And same thing with trim is that if I want to do a crown or whatever it is, like right now, if you walk into the spec, we have the entire floor plan's drawn out and we want to size it 6 inches bigger on each side for the island. It's all drawn there with all the specs. So electrician walks in, plumber walks in, everyone walks in. It's making it so people that may be going through the motions can now go through the motions because all the information's there, and then they can focus on adding some value. Mm-hmm. You know, like, hey, this is what I would do if I had the situation, because they have all the other information. So for that mantle, like I'll have a picture of a mantle, mm-hmm. and then I'll have all the stock that I think it's going to take to build that mantle drop there, and then say, hey, go to town. Because mm-hmm. I really do feel like the carpenter in me, that's how I'd want to be presented with that mantle. Mm-hmm. You know, it does change the game when it becomes an architect-driven project where I've been kind of pushed to stay in my lane. Uh-huh. And it's our job, to Tyler's point, is to make it as smooth as possible for them. I feel like it's the same as like a cabinet company creating a design before the walls are up, ordering box cabinetry with fillers, and then the determines who the best installer is that will cover your ass as much as possible, that makes that project a success. That's the same for what we do, is just having all the information there that now you've done it where, hey, I've given it all. Now I picked the right people that they can then create that. If it was a tile guy that I didn't think could handle it, then like even tile, we lay out everything in the room, not because it's for the tile guy, but to confirm that layout, even though they picked it, bought it, had it delivered, it is the way they want it, and there's no other alternate options. So I guess it's more of not fly by the seat of my pants, but just this is your last time to change it. So this is our,
and that's kind of where I was coming at it from the standpoint is like, especially on my high end, which would be, you know, what you would be doing. The homeowners are so difficult that we've moved to using Builder Trend, where selections are put together in a, I'd call it like a pamphlet or a spec book, and everything is very, you know, all these selections are laid out, even drawings on things, and that homeowner has to click the button and say approve before I touch anything. So it's a lot different process. It's not hands-on like what you're talking about. It's very much, I mean, it's digital, and it falls through, a lot of details fall through the cracks because you can't see on a digital drawing.
Well, they fall on you.
Well, but what would happen then is like, if we'd find like, if you leave that door open where the homeowner can come to you and say, I don't like, that mantle looks too big or it looks too high. Well, then what do? Now we have a situation where I'm having to rip it out, and I don't rip stuff out without charging for it unless I screwed it up.
Do you think it's too high? Or do you personally, from everything you've built, like the Tyler mentality, not that you're not different, but like, do you almost agree with it if it's right?
It goes both ways. So like,
I know, but I'm just,
I'll have
like,
time.
Who's that fall on? That should be the builder or
so I try and catch it before the homeowner clicks that button to approve the selections.
So there goes to Tyler's point. Who's paying you for that? If like I'm taking that burden,
it really doesn't cost too much. Basically, you know, like most of the time they're coming up with a packet. They're sending it to me and saying, hey, take a look at this. Does it look good? If you see anything, let us know. And then they'll change it before they submit it to the homeowner. And that is a lot of labor. It doesn't fall on me. I actually like it. But it's just been so hard with the homeowners who, like Nick says, they'll have you rip out anything. And we just can't do that. So do they always get, like what Tyler's talking about, perfect scale? Probably not, but if they don't like something, it's something where we can go back and say, you approved it here. Now, if you want it changed, it's a change order. And that's just been about the only way we've been able to mitigate those huge issues.
I think that even getting into, you know, like proper scale, what you're doing at the end of the day, like there's a production mentality to that. And does it make sense to make every coffer a different size to fit the room, or does it make sense in your case to just like divide it up so things are even and the people, you know, are still getting the same look and the feel that they want, and it takes a lot less time at the end of the day, and it saves them money. I think if you were doing stuff to that level, or it paid for you to get approvals on every piece of millwork that you were installing, I think it'd be a different price point for you. But with the way that you were set up and what they're charging and the affordability of what you're doing at the end of the day, I don't know if you could put money in to do all that. Like, you got to keep moving to make money, right?
Yeah, like it's funny because you were talking about, like, you know, cutting out the cardboard and doing all that, and I am not the guy who's going to do that. Yeah. Like, I'm there to go to town once I'm there. I don't like to stop and talk about things.
I think it's also like I get customers who want that. And like, if the customer doesn't need that, I know that they don't need it. But when a customer needs it, I'm well aware of it. And it's also like, so realistically, there's jobs that I wouldn't get paid to rip that out, you know, or they're like, for whatever reason, I wouldn't feel right about ripping it out and charging them. So it's easier for me, being that I don't have to go anywhere else or get the answer from anyone else, to be like, hey, left this mock-up in the room for you overnight. Let me know what you think by the morning. Because I have
like,
enough.
When I do that, in my brain, what I'm thinking is I'm opening the door to this awful thing where this homeowner is going to demand a whole bunch of my time. So like I try to avoid that. It sounds horrible, but like that's truly what goes through my head. Like I don't want to, like, if I ask a question, then I have to stand there and talk for an hour about something.
But you also shouldn't be the one responsible for that.
Exactly.
The builder should be doing that.
Yeah, and they do, for the most part. Some don't, and they'll kind of try and push that off on me.
But you shouldn't really be client facing at that point. That should all be passed down to you and not your time. You know, that's why the GC has your number and has a markup on your number and is in charge of that job. Like if you were hired to design the millwork package, that'd be completely different. Yeah. But you were hired to install.
So if it was wrong, you could still charge to have it replaced, but it'd be an internal change order to the GC, and it wouldn't reach the client.
Yeah, I mean, just for example, it's been quite a few months ago, but I did a very simple box mantle that wrapped around a bump out, and the homeowner, I installed it and everything, and the homeowner didn't like how much it stuck past on the sides of the bump out. And it's like, well, I did what I thought was best, and no one was here telling me what to do, so I have to defer to my discretion. And it is what it is, you know, so it's a change order. If it's going to get changed, I'm going to charge for it. So yeah, I do run into that some, but not too bad. But it is really important for the sub to adapt to each builder, because they are all different. And some are much more hands-on. Some builders, you know, don't even really want you as a subcontractor talking to the homeowner, because if I'm not very socially skilled, you know, and if I'm in one of my moods where I just want to work, I might not give the best impression to that homeowner. You know, I try to do a good job, but
could you imagine if a customer told you that the mantle was not the right size and you were like, well, listen, nobody was here, so it is what it is. Dude, my customers would be like, wait, what did you just say?
I get some bad homeowners that, like, sometimes the homeowners don't have social skills. Like, one thing I can't stand is like someone standing there just watching me. Like that.
There's nothing worse.
You might hate me.
Especially when they're your employee. It's like you're just standing here watching me and I'm paying you.
Yeah. So what do you do then? Like, you try and like send these social signals and almost like maybe even be a little like moody, like get away, like go.
See,
go
that's
away.
a position where I'll straight tell somebody like, yo, you can't stand here the whole time while I'm working, in like kind of joking way, but I'll be serious. But I wouldn't tell somebody like, nope, that's just the way it's going to be. But I would definitely, like, I've had the conversation like, listen, I'm trying to work. I can't have you, like, you got to get out of the workspace, you know, give me I had one guy he hired me. It was a million red flags. It was when I first went into business, but he hired me to do work on his daughter's house. I never met his daughter, and it was in a development. We were ripping off like the trim detail, and we were putting up new wood trim because it had rotted before. And we were there, I think, for 2 days, and he stayed outside and watched us the whole time. And then it like was hawking us so intensely that there was like one 18 gauge brad nail that didn't get filled, and he's like, you missed one down there. And then it started to rain, and I had a canopy set up, and I was working out of a trailer, and he's standing underneath my canopy in the rain, and I was like I still know his name. I was like, Bob, you can't, like, I gotta get in and out of my trailer. It's raining. Go inside. Something, like, you got to get the heck out of here. I can't do it anymore.
I've went and just sat in my van. I've just dropped my tool belt and just went and sat in my van. Like, I'm gonna sit here until they leave.
It's amazing.
It's like, where did he go? Oh, he's in.
They don't have the social skills to even realize what's happening. Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, I think this guy didn't get the social cues either. He never offered us to use the bathroom. He never was like, hey, do you want anything to drink, anything? And at one point, he's like, all right, I'm leaving to grab lunch. And then he comes back and he's telling us how good lunch was. And we're like, yeah, thanks, we're good. We don't want anything. Like, appreciate it. Just don't think he was on that level. He wasn't picking up the cues.
Jeez. Yeah, I can't imagine. Like, I work with homeowners for, a matter of weeks, going back to the builders thing, like, sometimes that builders have to navigate those people for a year and a half. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, it's tough. I try and be just as honest as possible. I think that they either love you or hate you for it.
And that's probably, you say that actually makes a ton of sense.
Which part?
Just being honest and shooting straight with people, like,
yeah.
Hey, that's ridiculous what you just said.
Yeah.
Telling them that if they whenever you try and be politically correct, but some of these people, you have to be that way.
No, yeah, I've always kind of taken that approach, and I know John and Nick will have discussions where the customer, does something, or John does something for a customer to not charge them more money, and I'm just like, I don't know. I think I would just tell them that this is the way it's going to be. And again, I think that it's going to be something that, like, some people really love honesty, and some people want like the fluff, and they want you to kind of tell them what they want to hear. And I think it is your customers that appreciate it will love you for it, and the people that don't appreciate it, like, you won't work for them again. I think that's may be the best option anyway.
Yeah, and by far away, most homeowners are fine. It's just that occasionally you do get that one once 50%, in a while.
50%.
I'm trying to really come back and smooth this out because I came down pretty hard.
I thought you were being honest, guys. Cutting it straight.
Now we got to polish it up a little bit.
I feel like I'm at like 95% where they're like, I thought all my customers.
I feel like if I think
normal
about it too much, it'll just put me I'll just get really upset.
I seriously, one of the things this year, I came back to, like, I need to work on that this year. Myself as a sub, like, I need to try harder with homeowners. I really did come to that.
Myself as a sub or myself as a human?
Both. For the builder's sake, I want to do a good job for them. So even, like, though this person might be really difficult, like, Spencer, you got to try.
All right, so
I accept that challenge every
week. You have
week.
kids now that are getting to the social age. What's the interaction with the other parents look like?
As far as, what do you mean?
Social aspects. I feel like I go and there's like all these other parents at the birthday parties, and I'm just like sitting over there by myself, not saying anything. You talk to my wife if you want to. I'll just be over here.
Yeah. Thankfully, my wife is good with that. It's kind of weird because my kids go to the same school that I went to. So, like, whenever I go to, like, the school programs and stuff, I'm seeing a lot of my old classmates. And that's real weird.
Yeah.
Like, to see people that you were in school with become adults, that no one turns out like you think.
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Sounds bad.
Sounds bad.
No, but I don't know. I try, but I'm not the most social guy in the world. It's weird to have like 90,000 followers and subscribers on 2 platforms because I'm really cool just being by myself most of the time.
Except for when you get on the podcast.
Yeah, I enjoy talking with you guys. You know,
I think there's days where like you want to be an introvert. Like I know there's like some days where I'll see somebody and I'm like, I don't want to do this today.
Yeah.
And then I know that I've set the precedence the last week or whatever that I'm always like, yo, what's up? And then there's just days where I'm like, I don't want to go through the motions today.
Honestly, that's like every day for me.
I know, but I don't know. It's the same as like when you coach hockey and then you see the parents and you're like, yeah. And then some days I'm like, I'm putting my head down, I'm walking in. I'm sorry.
What's wrong with John today?
Yeah, but that's what people are gonna think, and then it's the same as like when we do those events.
Everyone's like, didn't you hear the podcast this week?
Yeah.
He was down.
But we do all those events, and you're like, God, I gotta be on for the next 4 hours.
Yeah.
When we see people, and I'm like, am I gonna disappoint? And now it's just like, all right, how do you navigate life?
I like one-on-one interaction, but stuff like that, big crowds. It's not that I don't like people. It's just crowds.
People annoy me.
No, I don't know. I feel like it drains me. I think would be the easiest way to.
Oh yeah.
Totally.
It's just a weird thing.
Like I said that before. It's like when I was a carpenter, I would work, I don't know how many hours a day, come home and still be able to go to the gym. But now I look at it and it's like, I'll go to 3 client meetings and be like, dude, what the F? Like I'm toast. Like I'm wiped out, sit in the car and like start yawning. And I'm like, what is the matter with me?
Yeah.
It's that mental, maybe I'm just not mentally. I'm mentally challenged. That's what it
Probably
is.
none of us are quite mentally.
No way. Not in this industry.
Yeah, especially you builders, man.
You're giving us a lot of praise.
I truly am. Like I walk into job sites constantly and I think like, I don't know how these guys keep going.
Yeah, I've had a taste of that the past week or so because the job I'm working for is for a builder that remodeled their whole house, and then like they took on a project kind of post-construction that's in their living space. So it was like, all right, how can we get this done without a massive sub pool? Kind of one person can handle all of it, but you know, I'm still seeing like the residual from building the house spill over and some punch list type things and having to meet. And I'm just like, oh man, that's a lot to deal with when you have multiple things going on at once.
I was on a job site, like a month or two ago, and it was just me there and a couple HVAC guys or plumbers, I think, showed up, and it was muddy outside and they were doing something outside. There's freshly laid carpet, and this one guy, muddy boots, just walked down the stairs, just brand new carpet, brand new, just tracked mud every single step the whole way down the stairs.
Like, how does that not register?
I don't know. That's what I tell you. Like, I don't know how you as a builder can not lose your mind. And as soon as it happened, I took a picture of it and sent it to the builder because I knew if I didn't, then it would get brought up and more than likely they would lie and say, not me. And then, well, I was the only other guy there. So anyways.
Were you sending pictures of your shoes?
I should have.
That whole day he was on social media with his camera on his feet.
Yeah.
Like, nope. No, I mean, let's be honest. I was in one of our jobs and we had placed all the carpets and everything. And the client, like, I'm a stickler. Like, I don't use clients, brooms, vacuums, any of that stuff. Like, if someone says, hey, you don't need to take your boots off, new client, old client, whatever, don't do it. I don't park in driveways. I have like this whole regimen of things I don't do. And like, if there's a new carpet in the ground and I even have my socks on, I'll still walk around it. And then when we're in the job the other day,
I thought you were going to say I'd take my socks off. I was like, that's super weird.
I should have. No, but like we're in the house and we're walking around and I have one of my guys, Ryan, with me, and the client stops and goes, hey, Ryan, do you guys have a carpet cleaning company? And he's like, yeah, I'm sure I can find one. And she's like, you're going to need one. And Ryan stopped. One of my guys stopped. He's standing on the carpet. That's why she asked him. Like he was like, what do you need? What do you need one for? And he's like, he's on the carpet. That's why she said it to him. Wow. And I'm like, you watch me walk like a tightrope to make sure shoes aren't like every day, Tyler. your anxiety for this stuff. Like sometimes I try to channel you, and I'm like, I would just go nuts and just burn this place to the ground. And then there's other days where I'm like, we can do this. We can just educate everyone today, and it will make tomorrow that much easier. And if not, we'll do it again tomorrow and try and hammer this thing out. It's every day. And then there's days where I just
you got to be built for that.
Don't want to get out of bed.
I don't think I'm built for it.
I don't know though. I walked into a job site earlier this year, and there was one electrical outlet, and I thought, you know what? I'll just burn it down. I'm just gonna light a match and go stand on the street.
I think we talked about that last episode. Is what makes your job easy, and it was multiple electrical outlets.
Yeah.
And lights.
Yeah.
No, you didn't even care about lights.
No, lights is not even in. That's not even a thing. We never. Some guys do get lights. That's not a thing around here.
They condition the builds when you're installing in the winter.
I push. Well, yeah, you get heat. You have to have heat. And then I push pretty hard for air conditioning, and most of the guys I work for will turn the air on because some don't, but they usually learn the hard way whenever their doors won't close. So yeah.
It was so subtle. It was awesome. They'll learn the hard way when the doors don't close.
When they have to pay me to come back to trim all the doors.
Yeah.
Well, it's true. I mean, I've watched it happen, and as I've talked to other builders, like they'll say, "Yeah, I turn the air on, the doors don't close." So it's like you have to see it once, and then you learn.
I've had multiple jobs where it's fully conditioned, all the doors fit, and we paint them, and they swell.
Solid wood or
MDF?
true style?
True style. One job was true style, and the other one was
What was the jam material?
poplar.
What was the moisture content in the poplar?
I don't know.
Sorry, I just like
6.8.
it can't be the door.
6.8.
Nick, I do find that they do.
I don't know.
I see them swell, but they come down usually.
No, I mean, it was two jobs back to back. Everything was staged in the house for a couple weeks. Stuff went in.
Were they
Open and closed.
pre-hung?
Yeah.
Was it fine paints of Europe? So it was like 17 coats of paint?
No, just normal sprayed finish. And it was the whole job, the doors open and close. And once we painted them, the guys took them off, took the hinges off, painted them, put them back on, would not
Did they
close.
paint the top and bottom?
Don't get me started on that.
They need to.
They need to.
No, I nobody does that. That's a joke, I think.
It's what do you mean it's a
What?
joke?
Who made it up? The joke.
I have to remind them all the time, but it's
Okay. If you're a door manufacturer and you don't want to have to warranty the doors, what is the one thing you're going to tell everybody to do? You're going to tell everybody to do the one thing that you know they're not going to do. And in my market, I have never seen anybody paint the bottoms or tops of doors.
I fight for it every job
Because it's
you have to.
no,
It's like
I
it's like
disagree.
staining the top of a vent grill, and then not polishing the bottom, and it's definitely going to cup.
Right.
I can see it on real wood, but I think it's a joke on
What about pocket doors?
Masonite.
What
What
about
do you mean
pocket
on
doors?
pocket doors?
How you doing it?
The
Making
pocket
sure your doors are removable?
Yeah.
You have to paint them before you put them in.
We paint them before we put them in.
See, I sprayed. The only issue I ever had is we had a full MDF door that was a pocket door, and we'd spray like one side, and it would cup that way when it dried, and then you spray the other side, and it would cup the other way. So it's just like you're trying to alternate sides to spray it to get it back to being straight. And it's like, which side do I want to finish on to get this thing as straight for like the split jam as possible? I was like, this definitely, I didn't put the split jam in like this. And like, sure enough, you'd spray it and then it would dry and like the latex or the acrylic paint would tighten up and like warp the whole door.
I don't get how I've seen those stack racks where they paint the door and they lay them flat. I'm like,
Yeah.
how?
That's the worst thing you could do.
Right.
Yeah.
That's,
I'm so confused by it.
I yell at people for leaning them just up against the walls.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, we've had to replace doors because of that. You
Yep.
gotta stand them straight up
Yeah.
after you paint the top and bottoms.
I had a spell for a while where the painters were leaving them up against the walls for like long periods of time, and it was completely pointless to even try to set the doors correctly because none of them hit the stop right
Yeah.
afterwards. Yeah. But no, I've been reamed in the YouTube comments so many times for that whole thing of painting the bottoms of doors, but no one does it.
It doesn't make it right.
Well, that's just my theory. I think it's just an out from the door manufacturers because
I think you're wrong about that and Bitcoin. So
Look at Nick taking a Tyler page.
I don't know if I've ever had issues from not like a door top or bottom not getting painted.
Okay, my theory is in my market, there are hundreds, if not thousands of doors being painted every single day. If this was truly an issue, it would be an issue. But I don't think it is. I mean, every painter takes the doors off, stands them up vertically, ties them all together and sprays them. And I don't see any problems from it. Now, I'm not saying that on real wood doors. I do see sealing real wood, but I don't see it on
well, the problem is the fact that if something does go wrong, the warranty's void.
Yeah.
But how much did it cost you in labor to mess around with? Now you have to how do you paint the bottoms of doors?
Turn them upside down, duh.
So now we're flipping them. That's one thing a lot of people don't understand.
You can't spill liquids
The
on the
hollow
top
core
of the
doors,
doors.
anyways. They're like feathers.
You're gonna trim off the bottom, then it's gonna be just the front and back floating in midair.
Yeah. That's the other thing is what if I have to trim it off after they're painted?
Oh, you're screwed.
I know.
What if
then
you have
after you
tear
trim
out?
it, you prime it again.
So I need to
Get
carry
a little
primer
prime
on it.
stick. A little prime stick.
And the thing is, all of that primer on those masonite doors, it just absorbs straight into it. It's like
Yeah, it's better than the moisture from the room. You're right. Good call.
But what is it? What is happening? I don't see anything bad happen.
I think it's a good YouTube idea topic. Just do a time lapse, put the door in after you haven't primed it top and bottom.
You know what? I get a lot of views. Painting bottoms of doors sucks. Everyone would come out of
You'd
the
light that
for
up.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, like the viral.
Hey, Doug, we're gonna film a video tomorrow.
It's true.
I see that happening before Spence comes out with it.
Yeah. Well, I just had to. You triggered me right there.
I like
Good.
it.
Yeah.
Well, Spence.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, I feel like I always prime stuff up top, but I am thinking, like, if you didn't paint the top of a door, how much moisture is really going to get into that door to make it, like, not function? I don't know. It's not like it's dragging on the ground either. Entry
I feel like
door
it's the
for
same as
sure.
like when they don't paint the bottom edge of the trim or the top edge of the casing. It's like they completely missed it because you won't see
Yeah,
it.
but I mean, it's also like sitting on the ground at that point where it could really wick up water, you know?
I guess the argument, well, depends.
Like that's like if a big issue is like installing refrigerator panels down to the ground, if it's plywood and that end's not sealed up, you know, in like a
Right.
kitchen.
Yeah,
But I think that's much different
we poly
just because it's on the ground, like a door. I mean, I've seen some scribes that are basically a door height off the kitchen floor and a refrigerator panel, but maybe they're just avoiding that whole issue. They're
I
like,
guess
we don't
it's
have
like
any poly
baseboard.
to hit the bottom, so just let it float.
If you're scribing baseboard to the floor, you can argue the same thing. It's like you're not typically painting the bottom of that.
Yeah.
You should be putting it in first anyways.
I
Yeah.
taper it if I'm scribing it, and there's only like a little point that's gonna hit. Solved. Problem solved.
All right. Spence, another 3 hours.
Yeah. It goes fast.
Man, 50.
We're gonna call this one
a
triggered.
year ago.
Triggered.
So what's the what's gonna happen with the world after this one? Because
Man, I
last
hope-
time after we spoke, with
Maybe it's the correction.
pandemic. Yeah.
We all buy Bitcoin. We'll all be rich and
Bitcoin's
famous.
gonna.
I
Yeah.
just bought one.
Bought one.
Did you?
You bought one? A whole one?
No way.
I'm not forking out a whole Bitcoin. $46,000. No way.
I think
We had like 46 people to buy into one coin.
I think I do have Bitcoin, actually.
You know what? I truly don't think it has any value, and that is exactly why it's going to go to $1 million. So
Yeah.
I'd buy up everything.
I have
And silver. You've heard it here.
I
Yeah.
have 0.0024338 Bitcoin.
Nice.
Is that a grand?
Nope, $113.
Damn.
At least you can say you're a high roller now.
You're riding that wave, baby. You're a piece of it.
I don't know why. Oh, I must have bought $100 and it went up to 13.
13. Damn.
Such a weird.
Sell. Sell.
All right,
Well,
Spence.
I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, man. Thanks for the time. Tell your son sorry.
Yeah, he can go back to playing
Duct
PS4.
taped in a corner right
That's
now.
all I've been thinking about.
Don't
since he
say a
said it. I'm
word.
like,
Don't say
that
a
kid
word.
is sitting.
My son does it every week. He's right in the other room right there. You can see the screen. And
waiting
he's
for
quiet.
you.
And then I walk out and he goes, "Are you done?" I go, "Yeah." "Well, yeah. What the?" Because get the headset on every week.
Meanwhile, my kid comes in, pisses her pants, and then hops out of the room.
Peace.
How old are your kids, Tyler?
7 and 4.
Yeah, I've got 11 and 4, and my 11-year-old I don't have to worry about, but 4 would be unpredictable.
4 is an interesting age.
It
Our
is.
4-year-old is also just very interesting. I think she'll be interesting when she's 11 too.
Yep.
No way, Tyler. Your kid's
What?
not interesting.
Oh man, she's a piece of work. Absolutely.
All right. Well, keep the good podcasts coming. I enjoy listening. I know it's not easy scheduling this stuff every week, but
Hey, did we tell him he was the #1 download?
I think we alluded to it, but you
Yeah, I think he knew.
that's pretty crazy.
yeah, you beat Norm.
I knew it was up there, but that's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
you just
put that
gotta
on
sign
your
up for
business
another
card.
one once you log off of here.
Yeah,
What's
you should
that?
actually upload
Sign
your,
up for another one as soon as you log off.
Yeah.
a year from now.
Keep going.
Year rotation.
That would
Yeah.
be fun. We should do that.
All
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
you got the link.
All right.
See you, man.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Take care.
See you, brother.
See ya.
We got a review that says,
Uh-oh.
"Preach, Johnny, preach."
Oh, Jesus.
Oh.
Johnny, I am consistently impressed with how you romanticize construction. It often reminds me of something we deal with in the agricultural community. One of the farmers that Spencer knows.
It's weed.
Oh. Well, not necessarily. I describe it as the pole between the art and the science of farming. What is a farmer? It used to be that farmers took pride in how straight they could plow or plant a field. You could tell a good farmer by driving by his fields and seeing clean, straight lines. Now it's dominated by GPS-controlled tractors, and anyone who can push a button in a tractor can plant a straight line. While this is good for efficiency and good for the industry as a whole, I think there is still a ton of value in knowing the old way first. It has been said you can't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. This is true in farming and in the trades. Guys, keep it up. All three bring a ton of value, and I look forward to every episode from Carter. That's a good one. I didn't mean to laugh at the farmer. I just thought it was funny that Spencer was talking about the farmer.
Coincidental.
Yeah, coincidental. You guys got anything else?
I mean, what came to mind when you read that is how I like to get straight lines when I mow.
Yeah.
When are people going to start doing GPS mowers?
They have a solar one. It's for like golf
Solar
courses.
mower?
It's
No,
huge. It's like
They get the
60
robot ones.
Yeah,
the
60 something inches wide.
I mean,
but they get the
I feel like they
iRobots.
have to use something on like baseball fields
No, I
if they're
think that's,
snapping
isn't that-
lines.
Isn't that like? I feel like that used to be like a Scott's commercial. It's like you grow up like mowing your lawn and always wanting to mow a major league baseball field.
Yeah, I don't know how they do like the Red Sox emblem in the grass.
I bet there's a YouTube video on that.
Probably.
Yeah, I probably won't watch
We
it.
should get a Modern Craftsman logo on my lawn next year.
Dude, do it.
Yes.
I'll get the drone coverage.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, I haven't seen Marley in a while. It's worth a ride
Yeah.
once we're allowed to.
Dude, I got Residential Design Magazine. The bill we walked was in it.
Is it?
I just randomly flipped the page. I was like, holy crap. Like, that's Marley's build.
It's awesome.
He actually, the architect that he's doing the job for now, he recommended me for an architect up here. And he just reached out to me yesterday. He was like, yeah, John Marley. I'm like, I love John Marley. He's like, oh, yeah, he recommended you for a job up here.
I got a call today that said, hey, you know what? They were talking to me, and I'm like, yeah, I could probably look at it. And they're like, so can we talk like numbers? Because, you know, we may have talked to Nick, and he's a fortune. It was just the best comment. I'm like, I'm kind of besties with him, so I love this. Keep going.
You're gonna have to tell me who it is after we hang up.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was good.
I don't get how people don't think
I have
that
a funny
like
feeling I know who it is.
you're gonna find out about that.
I know. Well, it's like someone called me months ago. I called John right after, like, hey, so and so just called me for this project.
Yeah, my project.
Yeah. And he's like, damn. And I was like, yeah, I told him no. I was like, sorry. And I had one that went probably like 2 or 3 phone calls. And then at one point she said, oh, I was talking to another builder. And I was like, who? John? I was like, yeah, this is a no. Sorry.
It's crazy.
It is a small world.
All right, guys. Well, you know where to find us. If you want to give us some constructive feedback, hit that Survey Monkey on our Instagram. And
107 replies so far.
That's so good. I want to update that to we'll talk about that after.
I'm gonna get a monkey sound to play.
How's that?
There it is. There we go.
There you go. All right, guys. As always, this podcast is brought to you by Duration Moulding and Millwork. If you've ever ripped out a thick, old-growth piece of white oak windowsill from a building, you probably know how remarkably well that material stood up to the test of time. Unfortunately, that type of material is no longer readily available. So what to do? The answer is laminated polyash from Duration. Any thickness, any depth, made exactly to your specifications or to match the original. The same is true for our exterior casings. Simplify your life and preserve classic architecture at the same time. To learn more about Duration polyash products, please visit their website at durationmillwork.com.